All right. I am gonna go ahead and start my first stream in a few weeks. I don't know how long ago it was when my streaming was disabled. Probably at least, I don't know, like two weeks ago. And yeah, so my streaming was disabled, and it was because I had a woman who had her top off and she had nipple tape on in the background. It was pretty late at night. It was probably after 12 on 12, a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and we had already been on somebody else's channel, and it was just a guest. It was Wizard of Cause, and his lady friend in the background had her shirt off with nipple tape on, and it got my streaming disabled. So wah wah, and it's pretty shitty because like one of the only ways to make money on YouTube right now is I mean, I have my Patreons, which are not I love you guys, my Patreons. You guys are awesome, and anybody who wants to donate just a month to me, that's really awesome. However, it's not a whole bunch of money. I would be getting a whole lot more money from ad revenue, but the advertiser boycott is still kind of going on. So one of the ways I can get money is with super chat donations. So if you guys want to hit that little $ thing and tip me, that would be awesome because I haven't been able to do this in at least a few weeks. I don't know. I actually seriously don't know why my streaming was re-enabled, and they didn't ever tell me. It's not like they told me that, hey, um, everything is cool, but now I'm back. So I figured I should do a stream because I just figured out that I can do it. So yay, I'm glad that you guys are here and that this is all happening. Yay. And I'm joined by the common Nephil, and I believe Rin is going to join as well. I'm not sure when she will. Common Nephil's, I think, little brother is making noise in the background.
Hang on, I got it.
Okay. So, yeah, but I don't know what else to say at the moment. Wait, I want to check out something really quickly. Why I'm just want to look at my Gmail to see if they maybe did send me um no, it does not seem that they sent me an email about having my streaming reinstated. So, everybody in the chat, I forgot how to do live streams. Why was it disabled? Because I had a woman in the background of somebody's camera that had her top off and she had nipple tape on in kind of an X. So, yeah. What do I think will happen if Ann Coulter goes to Berkeley? The same fucking shit that always happens. A bunch of fucking cowards will show up and start being all crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, Antifa realized just how don't realize just how good they have it. If it was in, red states, yeah, they would be outgunned because you
And
yeah.
they were even basically outgunned in Berkeley. They
Yeah.
fucking lost. Like yeah, I get really pissed off at, people who talk about oppression and blah 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 blah. Like, for whatever reason, that all that talk about how we live in a white supremacist patriarchal, blah 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 nation and everything's so horrible, all of that talk became way more popular during the Obama administration. Obama is a black guy, and he was pro LGBT and defined as a feminist. And so, like, there was no great reason to think that we were living in this like white cis hetero patriarchal blah 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 type of um you know system. And then all of the sudden, it was like everybody started thinking that we were, and then Trump goes into office and everyone's like, see, we were right. And it's like, but you guys don't know how good you have it. Like, I was alive during the end of the Reagan years, and through the 90s there was a lot of progress in certain ways, but it was like everybody was still like actually racist in ways, and like actually very homophobic all the time. And it's like I just can't believe how ungrateful people are. Like we live in a society where the white straight people have bent over backwards to accommodate various minority groups, and people are like, it's not good enough for them, and they think that they can just kick and scream and it's going to get better, and it's like, no, it's not going to get better. So
Yeah, basically, I think I was just still too young to vote when Obama ran for the presidency in '08. I was probably at around 13 at the time. And yeah, you're right, though. Basically, it was sort of the 90s was pretty bad, sort of where there was homophobia in America. And in Belize, I think it's still a lot more prevalent to this day because there's still that sort of religious regression going around since majority of the nation is old school Catholic.
mhm.
Yeah. So and compared to the so-called cis het white patriarchal male, trust me, I know personally. I live in the area. There are worse governments out there, like the Latin American governments that are bought off by the cartels.
Yeah. Well, and like these people, these Antifa type people, they have this weird delusion where, like, okay, they think that anarchy would be cool, and that, oh, hi Ren.
Hi, how are you?
Good to finally have you on. Oh, you have a some sort of a window open in the background or something. Oh wait, I'm not hearing it
Oh,
anymore.
oh, anyway, it is great to be here. Like, I've seen your video on toxic femininity, and I saw your video where, like, top 10 things people don't know about conservatives or Trump supporters, and they're really good. They were really good.
Well, thank you. I yeah, those are two of my more popular videos. So yeah, I was just talking about Antifa. Antifa is it's it's just strange with the Antifa people, because they literally, I was talking to somebody just yesterday, and his little version of global politics is some sort of mix between extreme, okay, so he looked like he was like Middle Eastern or something, but he's American. He lives in America. He, from what I could tell from him, he knows almost nothing about politics at all whatsoever. He just doesn't understand. But he has been sucked into kind of like communist, maybe like socialist. He might even be into Uhuru, which is Ghazi Kotso's fucking organization. And he thinks that the entire world is run by white supremacy and European colonialism, and it's all based around, okay, so it's white supremacy and European colonialism. So whitey is the problem globally, according to this guy. But then also, it's actually America that is the problem, according to this guy. And I was like, well, that, like, I was like, hey, dude, I'm not saying that like America doesn't have some bad things that they do, especially in terms of like global corporatism and everything, because America is one of the major players in that, and there is a lot of problems with that. But it's not just whitey. And I was like, and if you try to pick this fight with like white people in America, you're going to lose. And he's like, that's not true. Globally, white people are the severe minority. And I'm like, dude, but you're not going to get everybody in China and everybody in India to like join your little battle against white people. Like, they don't give a fuck. They don't want to, like, what's going to happen when you try to get Russians to join your little and he was like, well, Russians hate America. And I'm like, but you weren't talking about America. You were talking about like European colonialism. And like, it made no sense. He was like completely self-contradictory about what he even thought the enemy was, and he was thinking that he could get Russians to fight his little war with him, which is based around racism, which is based around his hatred of white people. And it's like you do realize that Russians are mostly white. Like, do you not? And that's the mentality of some of these people. And so they think that the world is this gigantic like empire of white people being bad everywhere, and that it's so fucking simple. And then they also seem to think that if they were to like overthrow the government, that like it would work out. And the reason why I think that these people think that, these Antifa people, is because they've been able to live more or less as anarchists basically by mooching off of capitalism in certain cities. Like they can live in places like Olympia, Washington, Portland, Oregon, Oakland, California, Berkeley, California. And they know when restaurants throw out their food and when bakeries throw out their day-old bread and all that kind of stuff. And they can live in squats, like places that are, you know, nice to you don't have to pay any room and board, and they're livable, and you know there's like 15 punk rockers kind of like living in this place, and they have been able to survive doing that, but only because they do it in like Oakland, California, where there's a lot of people like that, and there's a lot of like bakeries. And I think that they think that if the government collapsed, they could just like keep doing that, like the restaurants wouldn't all go out of business and the bakeries wouldn't all go out of business. Like they kind of think that it would be fine. There's always going to be free food because there is now, and it's like no, there won't be. Like that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Ren.
Oh, what I find interesting is that Antifa has it's been popular in the past too, because do you guys know that Black not Black Lives Matter, but the Black Panther Party, they were also anti-fascist. The Black Panther Party was anti-fascist, anti-imperialism, Marxist, revolutionary, socialist, and anti-racist.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not. No, I'm not surprised by that at all. So yeah. Wait, there was a Fresno shooting. One of the
Ye-
victims in the Fresno shooting was Antifa. Somebody's saying in the chat. I have not. Um, did anybody else hear about this Fresno shooting?
yeah,
Um,
I did.
When it happened just today?
Yeah, it was pretty much on. I saw it on Twitter, like a Fox News clip on Twitter. Sometimes I do have Trump supporters as my followers. I
Oh
don't
my God,
know.
a Muslim guy targeted 3 white guys, and one of them was Antifa. Oh my God.
Yeah, I think this is one of the cases of starving piranha syndrome.
Yeah, well, I want to. Okay, let's look up. I'm gonna screen share, and we're gonna look up an article about this because I
Sounds good.
have not even heard of this. I'll just make sure I find a good one before I screen share.
I haven't heard of it, to be honest.
Well, I
This is
think
my
it
first
just
time.
happened.
Yeah.
So, police. Oh, it's 1 day ago. Huh. As many white males as possible. I love how I'm like happy. Okay, and of course, I'm not going to be happy about this because I am actually a white male. But I'm happy about this in the way that it's like, okay, will people start to admit that this is a problem finally? Like, will this like add a little bit more evidence? Because I've been wrong in the past though, because I thought that when they tortured the disabled guy, you know, that people would be like, okay, this is messed up. People actually hate white people. This is a problem. But like, no, that a lot of people were like, oh, well, you know, they didn't target him because he was white. They targeted him because he was disabled. And I was like, okay, two things can be true at once. I think that they targeted him because he was white. They chose him because he was disabled. You
Sort
fucking
of
idiot.
like picking the weakest of the bunch, sort of like they want to choose the most vulnerable prey out there.
Yeah, because it would be
Except,
easy.
yeah,
Yeah.
they
And
won't do it with an able-bodied, armed white guy.
yeah. It's like fucking, you know, try that shit on a fucking biker, you know? But okay, so Fresno gunman targeted as many white males as possible, cops say. the California man accused of killing 3 men in a random shooting spree um, in Fresno on Tuesday is a hate-filled racist who planned to kill as many white people as possible, says police chief. Um, wait, who? What news source? This is NBC News that says is a hate-filled racist. I, I
Damn.
I can't believe that they're actually. Are things changing now? Are things finally starting to change?
Or
Yeah,
maybe I'm
I
starting to think that maybe the corporate leftist media is just trying to pander to as many audiences as possible just to maintain relevance, so they have no other choice but to talk about it.
Maybe.
yeah, because I don't know, didn't something similar happen to like Obama where I mean sure the media loved him, but it did focus on the hate he got, like the drawings, the racist drawings of him being a Muslim, and they focused on how like the History Channel said that Satan would look like Obama and whatnot, and then everything kind of settled. Like people were saying he would be a bad president, a terrible president. So even though the media loved him, they focused on the terrible things other people said about him. And now the media are saying terrible, horrible things about Trump. And now things are kind of like they're saying things like like these anti-whites racists are doing these things, you know. I mean,
You know,
that's just me though.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. The thing is, I think History Channel is pretty much owned by Disney. Am I right? That would be ironic if, because Disney's supposed to be as liberal and progressive as always. They're pushing that. So to portray the devil to look a lot like the previous president would sort of be kind of ironic, and basically from my understanding of you know, basically from my understanding of the occult, the devil itself can take many forms, anything, but there's not one devil. There's like multiple devils because Satan in Jewish lore is actually an ally to God.
Uh,
Yeah, very few people know that. Very few people know that Satan in Judaism is God's prosecutor or whatever. And like
Yeah, pretty much.
Even when you look at Job, it does say even in the Christian Bible that God called for the the angels and Satan was with them. It does say
Yeah,
that in Job. I could get my Bible out. Hold on.
yeah. There's also a lore where basically God sent the angel of death to kill all the firstborn sons of Egypt. It's basically the name was probably basically like the destroyer. It was either Samael or Satanael, which is probably from the more apocrypha texts and hidden texts of the Gnostic Gospels, because there was like a legend about the Watchers and the Seraphim, and the commander of the Seraphim was Satanael.
Oh, hey, you guys. I want to change the subject because I don't really talk that much about religion on my channel, and I don't
Yeah,
think that the audience will be that into it. And because I don't really know much about religion, and it's just not
yeah,
what my audience tunes in for. So, but I add what is interesting is they say that they said that it was Corey Muhammad is not a terrorist, Dreyer said, but he is a racist and he is filled with hate. Well, it's good that they admitted that. However, then it goes down to here where it says, um, Dreyer confirmed that Muhammad yelled Allahu Akbar, and as he was being loaded into the police car Tuesday, but he said the suspect told investigators that he hadn't been to a mosque in the last 25 years and was a practitioner of voodoo who prays to 7 gods, primarily Anguna. Anguna is a name attached to practices or gods in a number of religions, but she is most prominently the supreme goddess in the minority Aboriginal animist community in the Solomon Islands. I just find it very interesting that he said Allahu Akbar. And they're like, it's not a terrorist. It's not. There's no way. So okay, I guess we're done with this story. Um, and yeah. Let me check back in on the chat. Um, so where are my super chat donations, punks? Come on. So, anything else going on today? I didn't have really any, hi, the oppressed black chick. How you doing? Um, Wait, someone says I'll donate $10 to your Patreon if you post a 10-second video on your channel and keep it of obviously of me saying Prince of Queens is a stupid fag. That's I think that would have to be worth more than $10, to be perfectly honest. Hi, Max Burr. Um, so okay, well, what's up, guys?
I feel, I mean, I don't mean to beat up a dead horse, but I feel like Antifa is just going too far. And I mean, I hope things would get better because it totally blows. It's kind of like first there was Milo, then I mean there's that thing with Lauren Southern, and then there's now they won't allow Ann Coulter to speak. It really is like, free speech is eroding the way. It's like we're going to lose free speech to these people.
Yeah, yeah. It's a shame. I don't think that we're going to entirely, but it's weird that they keep doing it at Birdie. Um um oh, okay. So hey, Tea Maker, the reason why it, um Tea Maker, did you realize why um wait, why my chat shut down? Because it was because there was a woman with her top off and nipple tape. And I'm supposed to answer Undead Pessimist. What are your thoughts on the whole pedophiles trying to join the LGBT community? Okay, here's the thing about that. I have only ever heard about this through right-wing people. I have yet to hear even to hear gay SJWs even mention it. I I think that there is a distinct possibility that they are trolls, that the people who are pedophiles supposedly are trolls, and that there is a few people who are actual pedophiles that people have given a great deal of airtime to, just to like wig people out, kind of like that supposed transgender woman Stephanie, who was actually a middle-aged man who pretended to be a 6-year-old girl or whatever. I'm pretty sure that that guy was like an actor, because like, I'm sorry, he could have like stopped dressing like the way he did, and nobody would look twice at him. People would be like, oh, it's just some John Goodman looking motherfucker. Like, they wouldn't. So he could have easily been paid. I am having, because of the fact that I know so many LGBT people, and if this was like a real thing with pedophiles trying to join the LGBT people, I would have heard about it, because the people I know are so incredibly SJWE and stupid that they have even, when Rachel Dolezal had an interview, people on my friend list were being like, wow, I'm surprised by how much she makes sense. I didn't think I might actually think be that like she would actually make me challenge conceptions of race, but she really has. Blah blah blah. So if there was really a pedophile thing that was actually legitimate within the LGBT movement, I think I would hear about it. And there was an article in The Advocate, which is a big LGBT, mainly gay male publication, saying that it is trolls. So that's kind of what I think. I know Salon published pedophilia. I'm not sure what to think about that. So $20 is your final offer. Um, you you want to have a video on my channel saying that I'm a faggot? Um, I don't know. I don't know if it's I'm just not sure why you want to do that. Somebody wants to pay me $20 to say that I'm a faggot on my video. Uh, is there some is there a some other trick involved in this? I'm not really sure. So let me see what else is going on. Bill O'Reilly is getting fired. I did hear that, but I don't really know much about him because I don't really watch Fox News.
Oh,
Um,
I've heard about it. It's
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically, there was like a lot of scandals turning up about sexual allegations against him from some of his female coworkers, or it's probably just some random women that basically he did have in contact with, and so usually because normally Fox News would not just hire one of their key players, but I guess when it comes to such major scandals and I guess Fox News had no other choice but to throw Bill O'Reilly under the bus to preserve their own image.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I don't have much to say about that. It's just Fox News. It's not really my area of expertise. So
Uh, I just avoid corporate media in general.
yeah, yeah, I mostly do too. But what's I like Tucker Carlson is entertaining. I have to say it's always good. Like if somebody that you have heard of goes on Tucker Carlson, like when that woman, the what's her name, the Asian woman who's like the Antifa organizer. Anybody remember her name? Something starts with a V. Oh, Vilarka, some shit like that. Um, yeah, it was funny when she was on Tucker Carlson. Uh, but okay, what else can we talk about? I did not think I was going to be streaming today, so I didn't really like have any sort of um any sort of agenda to talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
because this was to celebrate that you could start screaming again. So I guess you must have been really excited about that.
yeah, I'm happy that I can stream again. I just don't really have that much to say. Yes, somebody give me $25. Thank you, Team Maker. You're fucking awesome. Thank you so much. What do you want for that $25? I can tell a story or something. Like think of a type of story that you would want me to say. Can you talk to your audience about the best book, The Republic by Plato? Oh, that's not the same person. I've never actually read it. Oh, hi, KY Burns. So, but no, I want the person who just paid me $25 to, um, to tell me, some like, do you want to hear a story from college? Do you want to hear a story from, when I lived in San Francisco? Um, throw me a bone. Okay, so, I always feel like I should, um, talk about how you're celebrating today. Celebrating today, I'm not really sure if I'm celebrating today. I'm going to be on the liberal teen who is in the chat. I'm going to be on her stream later in about 4 hours. I'm supposed to be on her channel, and I'm not exactly sure what we're supposed to talk about. And let me think. Oh, a weed story. I can do that. I can definitely do that. Let me think of a good weed story. Somebody say something while I think about a weed story. Yeah, you can come in, KY Burns. Oh,
Uh,
Rin.
well, unfortunately, I know more about religion and Judaism, and unfortunately, we can't talk about that though.
Oh, you can say something about it. It's fine. Well,
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, because it's kind of a lot like I found that verse I was talking about. It was Job chapter 2, verse 1 through 2, and I found that interesting. That Satan really is like God's heavenly like attorney or prosecutor, and in Judaism, he really isn't like against God or an enemy of God. He's there to challenge man. And I'm surprised you know about Samael. Most people don't even know about Samael, but so that surprised me. And there's what's the other one? I think it's Mastema. Um not entirely sure, but he is in favor of God, but he hates man entirely and tries to destroy man. And I think he was the one who stiffened the Pharaoh's hearts in the Moses story when it comes to Moses and Egypt and
Oh
whatnot.
yeah, basically the one that sent the plague of murdering every firstborn child in Egypt. Basically, as far as I know, Samael is one of the more ruthless of the heavenly hosts. He's basically more like he's sort of like this sort of a hawkish kind of guy that basically they called him the destroyer. He's more definitely more warlike than most of the other angels.
I never heard of somebody be called a destroyer before though. But I heard that he it was with Lilith. Like I heard that somebody that Lilith was became somebody else's wife. Oh, and that Lilith was Adam's first
First
wife.
wife, yeah, I've heard about that. It's not known in the original Torah, but it's very popular among Hebrew lore.
The only Samael I know is from. Oh, by the way, hi. It's from Silent Hill, and so I knew you guys were talking about like we're talking about like more Judeo like Hebrew lore because that was basically that's an elegant way of saying I have no idea about any of this.
Huh.
I know Silent Hill was based a lot on like Hebrew lore and what have you, but that's it.
So somebody requested that I tell a story about weed, and I still haven't really come up with one. Uh, actually, I can tell a pretty funny one. So I went to Amsterdam when I was about 25, and it was about like you would expect. Amsterdam is very weird. I don't know if it's really still like this because there's a lot of places that you can smoke weed, but at the time it was kind of like people would go to Amsterdam specifically just because you could smoke weed there, and it was one of the only places in the world where it was legal. So there was these like cafe kind of things, and there was also a lot of like not particularly good restaurants where people would, you know, spend all of their money after they were stoned and they had the munchies. And we got stoned this one day. And this isn't a very long story, but we were just like really stoned and we were at I guess it was a canal. So we're at the water, we're just like sort of sitting there. And then there was a fight, and it was some big butch fat lesbian was trying to attack some guy. She was like punching him in the head, and then somebody came and broke it up, and so she ran back inside, and we were like, oh my god, did that really just happen? And then she came out and tried to get him with a chair. So I guess that's not a really great story, but it was the weirdest thing that happened when I was stoned that I could remember at the moment. Jeez, I think I tell better stories when I'm drunk. Sorry, it's only like 2 p.m. here, so it's not like I'm drunk. Um, I hope that was worth $25.
I can take my shirt off. No. Oh no! I can't. That's what got you banned last time, wasn't
Oh
it?
my god, he gave me another $25. Thank you. So let me look at these other. Anybody else have any idea for a question or a story? I think since it's so early in the day, I'm like not really coming up with super great stories.
Have you made any statements in regards to what was it? The Facebook Easter killer guy?
No, I haven't, and I don't really. I did not follow this story super well. I have to say I've been particularly concerned with Antifa because I live in an area with lots of Antifa type people and they're becoming more and more crazy. So it like worries me because, I don't want anything to happen in my area. And also because I actually like talk about them and like for all I know they're calling me a Nazi and shit,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Well,
Well,
wait a minute. So you live in California?
no, I don't live in California, but I live in another city that has them. So,
I understand. Well, I'm more just sort of sitting back and wondering how exactly it's going to get spun. I mean, they've tried the video game thing, but I feel like there's more coming.
wait, what did they try with the video game thing?
Oh, they're trying to say violent video games are the reason why he killed, like he actually shot people, and I'm like, he said that it was because of his ex-wife, and I was waiting for somebody to be like, like for people to come in droves, like this is toxic masculinity, this is misogyny. Nobody's saying anything, and I feel like they're waiting, they're
Huh.
putting shit together.
Yeah,
Well,
There's
when it,
that.
it was what was weird about it was simply how incredibly like calm he was. I was watching I think the YouTube Saints showed, which is Jeff Holiday and Wizard of Cause's stream, which they have a new channel for called the YouTube Saints. You guys should check it out. They showed it and it was like the guy was so incredibly calm when he was talking. He was filming himself. He's like, "Man, I lost it. I'm over it." Blah 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 blah. And he didn't seem like somebody having a mental breakdown. It just seemed like, if you didn't know that he actually really did shoot people, you would believe he was just saying that.
Right, right, right. I'm personally, I'm like mentally, when these things happen, I feel like a horrible person for it, but I like check out. Like I find it very easy to default to just sitting here and watching YouTube videos about it, like so that I'm like, not tell me what to think, but I'm like, I'm too exhausted to fucking like get political because I used to be so political, and now it's just like, I mean, I'll listen to what everyone else has to say about it, but it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes like a stress on the brain after a certain point because my brain is automatically like coming up with these theories and anticipating what people are going to say about it, and it's hard to shut off.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah, somebody just asked me if I have a taser. No, I do not, but I do have a collapsible baton that I carry around. So, yeah. I
you need to buy pepper spray.
yeah, I don't know about pepper spray. Pepper spray is
Well,
not that effective.
no,
Or
I'm
at
saying
least a handgun. Yeah.
no, Prince. I'm saying if I ever come to meet you, you need to have pepper spray. Not to say that you're in any kind of danger, but well, it's a kink thing. I'll tell you later.
Huh. Okay.
Sorry. Too.
Yeah, I one of the things the violence keeps escalating. I like to think that it's going to die out. I think that you know it does seem like there's people are saying that Soros is funding Antifa, and Soros has specialized in causing nations to become unstable in the past. I guess he's done this in foreign nations, and then he decided to start doing this in the US. Now, that's really not easy to do in the US because the US has this massive amount of internet culture. So it's easy for the people in the US to have a, counter narrative to the mainstream narrative, which is he was relying on. And, he ended up losing like Brexit and from what I understand, Soros is one of the big people for global corporatism. He wishes the world was without borders, but apparently only under his rules, and he wants, um, you know. I don't know why he's so angry at the US, but I kind of just think he's starting to get senile. Like he used to be able to be a better puppet master than he is, but now he's like just he doesn't understand how the internet works, and it's like is he trying to fund Antifa and get them to start becoming some serious like thing that'll start a civil war. Well, maybe, but I don't know if that's going to work. Like, I don't think that he can actually, like, in a nation like the US, where the people who are opposed to them have so many weapons and stuff, it's like, how far are they really going to get? How committed are these people? You know, like Moldy Locks. Is she really going to start arming herself and show up next time to shoot people? I don't think she is. I think that she is a upper middle class white girl who, you know, this is the first time she's ever been punched, let alone show up where she might get shot. So, um,
Yeah,
I don't know. That's weird.
I don't think that these people want to get shots or killed, but it's kind of like I don't know. It's kind of like it almost seems planned. When I say planned, I mean Laura Southern was on the Ben Shapiro show, and he said that the police said that there's going to be such a strong police presence that they will all be very much impressed. But there were rules, like they cannot bring any knives, they cannot bring any guns, pepper sprays, or mace or whatnot, and they would be so impressed about the police presence. So the Trump supporters came, no guns, no mace, no weapons, none of that sort, no bricks. And then when it comes to Antifa, they were throwing bricks at everybody. And when they were looking for the cops, they were in their cars, they were someplace safe. And when they were trying to talk to the cops, they said, well, it's not what we wanted, but the higher ups told us to stand down. Not only did the higher ups told them to stand down, but Ben Shapiro, he went to Berkeley 2 years ago, and he had the same problem where the police wants to do their job, but the higher ups tell the police to stand down, which reminds me of this conspiracy theory I've heard. There's this guy who said that Antifa, like some of the members of Antifa, are actually cops. And that's the reason why cops can't do anything about Antifa, because even though not all of them are cops, like a few of them are cops. And
Mhm.
it's a conspiracy theory, but it is interesting because cops never do anything to Antifa. Like you can see some videos where Antifa is trying to march through the cops, and the cops aren't really doing anything to touch them at all. So
Yeah,
that's interesting.
it is interesting. Maybe there is an ongoing kind of a undercover investigation into it to see what these people are capable of and where they're going or something. Um, I
And
don't.
this is what he said. He says that the reason why I know, and he showed me his shoes. He says these shoes could only be ordered by police officers. I don't know if that's true or not, but he says that he has special shoes that you would only see by police officers in the military, and that's the reason why he knows that it's like two or three people in Atifa would be like secretly cops. And he says that the reason why they are going around, starting violence and starting all kinds of trouble is because what he says is they know that Trump supporters are usually gun owners, so that if a Trump supporter shoots an Antifa out of self-defense, that it could cause a gun ban, even though I don't think it will work, because if you shoot somebody out of self-defense, it's great that you have that gun to protect yourself, though.
Yeah, but like also if there was a gun ban, I mean, then the state would have, you know, a monopoly on gun ownership. So like, oh God, I don't
I don't
know.
think that at that point a gun ban will really be effective because it doesn't really affect those who already have guns, and plus people can always we're at an age where people can literally make their own guns using a 3D printer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that from Anders. I think he made a gun alive on a live stream. All the materials for it. We do live on the H, and not only that, but I think it was ISIS or Al Qaeda that was teaching people how to make a homemade bomb. I'm not sure, but I think I've heard that somewhere.
It is really interesting how similar Antifa at least looks to ISIS, and then they also tend to be like these weird intersectional feminist type people who like probably prefer Islamic governments to the US because of their just extreme hatred of the US. Like they think that the US is this, white supremacist genocidal nation, and they think that Islamic governments are just misunderstood apparently.
No,
That
how do they really ever have looked at Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, Somalia, Libya, those places? No, no, no.
I don't
Compared
think
to
that
those places, the U.S. is a saint.
I don't
I
think that
would
they
know.
I don't think that they have looked at them is the thing. Like I
Uh, yeah, I have a friend who was from that region, and he pretty much says exactly the horrors of basically tells the horrors, exact horrors of what a met a few Muslims on Facebook, so they told me something. Yeah, Sharia law is fucked up.
mhm.
Yeah, the thing is, when it comes to these people who are agendered, bi-gendered, demi-queer, whatnot, if they live in a Muslim country, they would probably be thrown off a roof in an instance. I mean, like,
yeah.
women wearing pants, women being loud-mouthed and outspoken. I don't think that Muslims will put up with that for a long.
I'm actually kind of confused as to what they're like, who they think is doing that. Like, who is doing that? Who do they think is doing that? Like, it's a small group of radicals.
Yeah,
Or,
well, in a lot of ways, it is. They're okay. So I was listening to Sargon's videos um about it's Sargon's video about that is called "The Tale of Two Narratives" about Syria, and um uh there's this kind of like this idea that there's a civil war going on in Syria where Assad is this horrible dictator and the people are oppressed by him, and so there's rebels and blah 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 blah. But apparently, from what it sounds like, the people in Syria are fine with Assad, and there's just this massive amount of terrorists, and nobody's entirely sure where they're all coming from. And they are Islamic terrorists, and they hide underground in like 3 stories underground, so when the bombings happen they can survive. And there's entire armies of them that people thought didn't exist that still exists apparently, but nobody's reporting on it. So it's hard. It's like there is this weird, like, and ISIS is not just confined to Syria. It's not like they're just there. They're this thing that has a whole network on the internet. And so it is really hard to know where all these people are coming from and what's going on. Though there is definitely governments that do have very very bad policies towards homosexuality and stuff. But it does seem to be that it's the Islamic terrorists that are actually the real problem. But I'm not an expert on that stuff, so. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I do have some knowledge about it. It basically, what started off with the Islamic State was basically remnants of Al Qaeda that were stationed in Iraq and Syria during the Iraq War of 2003 under the Bush administration. And what we learned recently is basically that when it comes to, they were originally known as the Al Qaeda of Iraq, and basically it was like after the Bush administration pretty much overthrew Saddam Hussein, and which left a power vacuum in Iraq where you had all these Islamic terrorists and jihadists. It's basically turned into a power vacuum where they're trying to fight for control of power. And what we, yeah, it essentially also is that the one, there's no question that majority, and also there were also some of the ISIS fighters were also trained by, well, the United States government, most likely the CIA. And they were all financed by globalists, but more importantly, they were financed by Qatar, Qatari governments, the UAE governments, and of course, big players, Saudi Arabia.
No, this makes me think of when Dinesh D'Souza was in being interviewed by what's his name, Dave Rubin, where they were talking about getting rid of these dictators in the Middle East, and whether or not we should really be getting rid of all of these dictators, or because a new one always takes their place, whether we should just have a dictator that's friendly to the United States, a dictator that's willing to trade with us, a dictator that would leave us alone. Because again, whenever we kill a dictator, there's a new one and a new one and a new one and a new one. And it's kind of like we could either colonize the place, which, we know how the left feels about colonizing, or we could just leave it as is and just have a dictator there that's friendly with us and wants to trade with us. And I thought that Dinesh D'Souza brought up a good point.
Yeah, I think it's also more important that basically we're already at the point where we just shouldn't invade Syria. We should just leave Assad alone. He's probably the only guy that could keep the nation stable at this point. It's probably because with some of the dictators that not all of them are, a lot of them may have been hostile to U.S. policies, but they're the ones that were keeping the terrorists at bay. And it's sort of like like a Pandora's box, where if you even try to open it, a lot of things, a lot of chaos just breaks loose and spreads all over.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to me, the vacuum is really, really bad, and it would probably better to just leave a dictator there to stabilize the place, where they keep the terrorists at bay.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I don't know how to feel about any of it. I'm really not too familiar with. I'm not too familiar with government outside of like the one that I have. I've had a lot of conversations with like veterans of, I guess like like the Vietnam War and what have you. And they're quick to point out like the Shah and all that. So I have a general understanding of it, and we have a lot more hand in like foreign like why foreign dictatorships are the way they are now than a lot of us think we do. But it's it I don't know. We can barely fix our own problems.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like we have so many problems in the United States. We could barely fix our own problems. We should be focused on our own problems than to be worried about other people's problems.
But
It's like we've got so many homeless veterans. We got so many sick people here, homeless people and whatnot. And then we have people who just are like, well, we want to break in all these refugees, when really there is a cultural difference between all of these
yeah,
refugees and us. And then um, we would
I
run
think
out of resources. We would
I
eventually run out of resources.
Yeah, I think the thing that like really honestly what bothers me is anybody who looks at any form of society and says that is a model society. That is a mod like I don't care what country you're pointing at. Sweden, Switzerland, wherever. If it, like I had a conversation with a friend like a while back, and they're like, I feel like Islam is a a really peaceful religion, and I feel like I'm an atheist, but I feel like I really could be a Muslim. And I'm like, see, here's the like dogmatic thinking is the problem. Like religion, let people have their own religions, I guess. But the idea of striving for that as opposed to striving for some sense of like an individuality and like a like a subjective, like a moral purpose, like I think that more focus, this is why I consider myself a libertarian, should be placed on individuals.
Yeah,
And,
it seems like your friend is feeling like the grass is greener on the other side. And I was talking to Base the Mama before, and she was talking about, I think it was in the 1990s. I think it was the 1990s, where she was learning about Islam but she was learning about Islam from liberal books or whatnot in the 1990s,
Mhm.
and it paints a beautiful picture of Islam. It makes it seem wonderful and amazing. So she was lured by liberal books to become a Muslim, and she was really into it. Like, if you criticize Allah, she would probably kill you if you criticize Allah, or at least
Mm.
think about it. And if you died, she wouldn't really care. You know, and people they get persuaded into it, not really knowing what it's about. And
Right.
it's kind of
And
like, and it's like the when you start having atheistic doubts, like maybe none of this is real, it becomes a trick of the devil, like Satan or Shatan or whatever is trying to
mhm.
trick you. The devil is trying to trick you. Like, the more you have doubts, the more you had to believe stronger, because that's Satan. Satan is putting doubts in your
Well,
head.
and
So
see
you
here's and see here's the thing about it as well. And people talk about moderate. I feel like there should be some sort of a different word for it because, like, I was raised Catholic, right? And I was a devout Catholic, but there came a time long before I stopped calling myself a Catholic where I still consider myself a Catholic, but I mean, I'm a gay male. You know, I was out there like, hooking up, sucking dick, living my fucking life, smoking, drinking, just doing what I wanted to do. And I was doing all these things that were clearly against like Christian and Catholic dogma. Like, it was against my faith, but I did not consider myself to not be one of those faith. I didn't consider myself to be somebody who was lost. I feel like a large there's a great deal of hypocrisy in the way that human beings live their lives, but they will still I was a person who was not living by the Bible, but I would still be like, God is real, Jesus was our savior, this, that, blah, 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 please don't criticize my religion, don't do this, don't do that. But I was still not living by that, and in the same way, I feel like, I mean, there are probably a lot of Muslims as well, because there's not some chip in everybody's like back of everyone's neck that's like, okay, because you're this means you have to be this, and this. But I mean, that's why I think that, I mean, you can criticize the religion because, like, for the same reason I criticize like Christianity and what have you, but um I think that, like, ultimately, it's not so much faith as it is blind faith, as it is, not having a sense of individuality. That's where I think dogma and blind faith is a problem.
Well, you're not alone. You are definitely not alone in that. I think that many Christians should really be calling themselves theists, because they do believe in Jesus, they do believe in God, but there are so many Christians out there that never read the Bible. Let me tell you, I know the Bible better than most Christians. I've always known the Bible better than most Christians. I'm like saying this, that's that, and that. And usually Christians are like, that's in the Bible, that's in the Bible. But many of them believe in God, many of them are believe in Jesus. I think the Christians should really be calling themselves deists, because they don't read the Bible. I mean, some of them will be going to the strip club, some of them will be on cocaine, and they'll be doing all
Yeah,
that. I'm like, oh yeah, I believe in this, that, that, that.
yeah. It's how it works. It's I think that that's why, a lot of times I compare like feminism and other things like social justice to a religion, to a dogma, because you only have to adhere to the parts that work for you. You really only have to, and that is go across the board for anything that you subscribe to. There's a lot of people are religious because it is self-serving. It gives them a sense of superiority, or it gives them a sense of calm, a sense of peace, to feel like they're all right with the world. A lot of people who are drug addicts and they recover, they turn to religion because it allows them to have that sense of everything's going to be all right, and I can still feel somewhat superior to other people, not in a way that in your mind it makes you thinking I'm superior. You're thinking other people are lost, I can help them. There's a very large pull to that, especially if you're somebody who's not very happy with yourself. But literally, the only thing that you have to do to consider yourself a Christian is to believe in God, or to consider yourself any of these things is to believe in God. The only thing that you have to do to consider yourself a feminist is to believe in just one of the things. Any pick one of the things in their long ass list of undisputed feminist truths, like the wage gap, the 1 in 4, or just the fact that men and women should be equal, regardless of whether you believe they already are or not. You just
Yeah,
pick one thing out of that list, and you don't have to like. That's it. You're one of them. And if
yeah,
somebody is attacking it, then they're attacking that personal reason for you.
yeah, yeah. I really do see similarities between feminism and Christianity, especially the hypocrisy. Like, feminists will say things like, "No fat shaming this, no fat shaming that," but the moment a fat guy says, "I would never ever date a feminist," this guy is bombarded with
Yes.
insults
Well, yeah,
about how fat
it
he is.
doesn't count with men. I mean, okay, so like everything in the feminist religion, there's an exception if it has anything to do with men.
Mm. To
I,
quote
I
to quote Willem Belli, you can make fun of fat guys. You can't make fun of fat girls because fat girls kill themselves.
yeah. Um, but I was actually, I was just watching. There's a debate between Jim Norton and Lindy West on it was called something called Totally Biased, and it's a pretty good uh debate just to watch because it's a Lindy West who's a fat feminist who attempted to have a stand-up comedy career very briefly, but I think that she couldn't handle being heckled and being the fact that she's a fat woman. It was probably worse for her, but she's just a sensitive snowflake that grew up in Seattle, and so she had no concept what it would be like to move to LA and like get heckled by you know
Everyone.
yeah.
Oh, LA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
so she then went on to write for Jezebel, and she's a writer for Jezebel, so she started complaining about comedy, and then it morphed from her just being made fun of from being fat, which is probably the underlying motivation for her anger at comedy. It morphed from that into her criticizing comics for making rape jokes, because of course, okay, so I'm going to make a video about this soon, or at least touch on this in the video. Feminists, a very large portion of them, are just obsessed with rape. Like they seem to believe that literally the only traumatizing thing that's ever happened to a person ever that matters is rape. Like they do not seem to think that men have experienced anything that could ever be traumatizing, unless it's that they were raped. They don't seem to think that if a man is targeted and beat up by four guys for being, not just for being gay or just for being robbed. Like I've known people that were beat up in Brooklyn or Oakland by a number of people, and it was very traumatizing for them. It's not like it was like a walk in the park. And what pissed me off about the whole conversation was that she kept framing it like, okay, so the debate that they were having was that Lindy West was saying that people shouldn't necessarily make rape jokes, and Jim Norton was saying, look, I think that either all of it's okay or none of it's okay. And she was like, yeah, well, I think that I should have the right to call you a dick if you do make that kind of thing, because why do you have to use our vaginas as your crutch? And this is where it got really annoying. It was kind of like she was very clearly saying you aren't allowed to make jokes where potentially women are the ones at the expense, and he was saying people should be able to say anything. And what he never said was, well, yeah, but like Lindy West, you write for Jezebel. Almost everything on Jezebel rides on the point that it's at the expense of men. Almost everything on Jezebel is in some way attacking men, or in some way trivializing the struggles of men. There's articles on Jezebel that are glorifying when women beat up their boyfriends. There's articles on Jezebel that say that misandry doesn't exist, and that men are just man babies if they ever complain about being discriminated against for being male. So, like, knowing that you're like that, if you're going to try to start constantly censoring people, you're going to get a bunch of shit yourself because you hate men so much. But feminists have created this delusion where their vehement and relentless hatred towards men just doesn't count, and that gives them this like permission to do all sorts of awful things, and things that could affect the average male. It's like, okay, so if we're going to stop making rape jokes, could we maybe stop making jokes about how all men are rapists? Because remember that woman Lorena Bobbitt who cut off her husband's dick?
Oh yeah,
like, maybe
laughed about that.
maybe, yeah, like, maybe, is that funny to you? Maybe that would, you're going to encourage things like that. Like, Lindy West kept framing it as that's like, well, if we make rape jokes, there might be some woman who's traumatized and you re-traumatized her and blah blah blah. And it's like, there's plenty of people who are traumatized by plenty of things. So, yeah. So hi, what's his name? I can't, for some reason I can't see. Oh, Jack. Hi, Jack.
Hi, Jack.
Hello.
That would require
Hello.
empathy out of feminists, though, and you can't empathize with the quote enemy. Otherwise, you can't treat them in horrible ways and be okay with it. As soon as you see them as people, that has to stop.
So I had an experience on Facebook a couple months ago that I was really irritated about, and how do I put this? So when stuff pops up on Facebook, like say, a friend of yours shares something, a female friend of mine shared something that was a, like sort of like a rape prevention. It was a pair of pants, or not a pair of pants. It's like a pair of underwear.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing. It's like that you can't take off unless you specifically are taking them off. And I shared it from that person because it was important to me that other people got to see it. And I've had this argument with people before where they're like, nope, I shouldn't have to. Like, so this person, very big feminist, who is a friend of mine, a performer in Philadelphia. She's a hyper queen, which sometimes those things, the biological female drag queens, they irritate me. Not because they exist, but because they feel like they demand equal representation. It's important, but I'm not going to get into that because that's an entirely other can of worms. That they feel like they demand to exist more, like they need to exist better because they're women, whatever. Okay, but so I mean, she's normally pretty cool, but then sometimes she gets very political, and that was one of those times. She says, "Nope, not wearing a chastity belt just for the sake of, like, because men don't know how not to rape." I'm
She
like,
got a thing against seat belts?
no, she's like the chastity. It was basically, she's like, she's boiling it all down to the concept that it's a chastity belt. And
Right.
I'm like, all right, so here's the thing. I'm sharing this because there are other people in my life who might want to do more than sit around and expect that rapists are going to stop raping overnight.
Yeah.
For example, I have had experiences. I said, the first thing I thought when I saw this pair of underwear was, shit, I could have used that at a sleepover I had back when I was in my teens. But
Well, so not
like,
just that, though, but go ahead, man.
no, it's fine. It's just irritating to me that it's like, okay, first off, you're pointing it at, okay, so men, first off, that's a problem. I'm like, listen, anybody can pull your underwear down when you're drunk. First off.
Mhm.
And I don't care how much more painful it might be to be like, to be fucked as opposed to like to fuck or to get diddled or whatever. I'm not going to get into the semantics of that because fuck you for, like the importance, the impact of a rape isn't necessarily the violence of it. It's the fact that somebody is violating your body, your temple, basically, to not get too fucking spacey about it. But it irritates me that first off, you're going to think that I'm sharing this as saying, hey, women, this is what you should do. I'm sharing it because I feel like everyone should have a litany of options. All the women, I don't think that the most options a woman should have, if we're even going to just limit this to women, is birth control. Like, like as in you shouldn't have 20 different ways to keep a fetus from growing inside you. I mean, you should, but you should have just as many ways to defend yourself.
Mhm.
God forbid you have one more.
Yeah.
Like, you should be so glad.
Yeah, I understand how you feel because I mean it's kind of like
If I
how
was
it's kind of like how they invented like nail polish. I think it's nail polish where
The
you
nail
put
polish?
it on your drink. It could tell if your drink's been drugged. You did that
Yep.
feminists would before. You did it like, yay, this is great.
Like,
Instead, feminists were really, really angry. Feminists were mad and
I'm
furious. It's like, oh no. Teach them
I'm
not to do it in the
sorry.
first place.
I'm sorry. It is 2017, and if I am going to be against rape and I want to know how to prevent rape, I'm sorry. I don't want to stop at like a chastity belt. I want an app that allows my vagina to shoot lasers at unwelcome visitors. Okay? I want 1,000,001 different options. I want spikes. I want a fucking app that calls the police. Like, if you're really that afraid of rape and you think it's that rampant, which to be fair, a lot of people really don't talk about it, both men and women alike. But if we honestly want to be safe, why are we putting our safety in the hands of people who admittedly do not care about our sexual safety?
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like there was this video by Anna who was like, "Oh, I'm gonna learn karate, and I have to, carry these weapons and blah 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 blah." But it would be better if we just teach men not to rape instead of telling women to protect themselves. When really, I'm pretty sure that a rapist already know that rape is wrong, just like a thief already knows that stealing is wrong, just so like a wife beater already knows that it is wrong. I mean, why do you
Well,
think
yeah,
that people never come forward about it? Nobody ever
absolutely,
comes
absolutely.
forward.
And one of the things that is really heinous about feminism in general, and I like to say that feminism is predicated on the idea that not only that women know men and know basically that women know women, and when I say women, I mean feminists. Feminists know men better than men know themselves. Like, so apparently, all of feminists are mind readers, and they know exactly why men are the way they are, and they know how to solve that problem. And so they come up with this elaborate, theories about how it's conditioning by
Socialization?
socialization that has made men into the icky mean men that they are, and they just need to find feminism and then everything will change. And like and they have these other things, and like it's amazing how many people think this one, even though I am pretty sure like there's no conclusive evidence for this, but people say it, which is that rape isn't about sex, it's about power. Or rape and sexual assault of all types is not about sex, it's about power, which is, that little theory that has been floating around since, eternity is being used by feminists. It's gotten so far as to justify saying that gay men frequently sexually assault women because they're exerting patriarchal control over. And it's just like, that's just not true. That's just not, like, I was talking about this on a stream the other day. The male sex drive, and like, I'm not a rapist. I've never, and also there's a very big difference between the type of rapist that attacks a jogger at 5 a.m. with a knife as opposed to a date rape. If
Yes.
somebody, the thing is about sex from, and this is what pisses me off about, it's always
Right.
some fucking female saying that, rape is not about sex, it's about power. And it's like, maybe you just don't know how the male sex drive works. Actually, I can assure you, you definitely don't know. Maybe in your little female sex drive head, that's the only thing you can imagine, because you can never imagine wanting to like forcibly get off, because that's not how the female sex drive works. The female sex
Or it's
drive.
just or it's just the concept of getting off no matter what, or getting something that you want no matter who or what it affects. It's not an issue of power. That's an issue of selfishness. Clearly,
Yeah.
that's an issue of not knowing boundaries.
And
I,
yeah,
I,
so what the way that I describe it is that, it's like, um the male sex drive is like having to piss. Every once in a while, you just really have to piss. And, so maybe there are some men who get off on pissing. They feel powerful when they piss, and they like to piss on people's porches. They just walk up, and it's like this sort of piss rape thing that they do. It's their patriarchal. Yeah, maybe that does happen. But there's probably also some guys that end up pissing is in public. And they know it's wrong. But they do it anyway because they feel like they have to piss, and that would be more like a date rape. Like,
yeah.
I know
it's never a matter of can't help it. It's a strong urge, but there's always a side of a road to piss on. There is always a side of a road to piss on.
And you can always.
But if you're knocking, sorry.
You can always hold your piss in a little bit longer, but especially if you're drunk and you start making bad decisions, then yeah, like a girl could say stop, and you sort of ignore it because she's not like physically pushing you off of her, and she says stop twice, and then like, I can see how that would happen. I've never, like, I'm not a rapist, but I have, as a gay male, I have been in situations both where I wanted to hook up with a guy, I was in bed with him, and I wanted things to go further, and I did persistently try a little bit until I realized that he definitely was not going to have sex with me. And conversely, I have been in numerous situations where guys tried way too hard to have sex with me, and I had to tell them no repeatedly. And if either of those situations, was it a girl or a guy, that could have been considered sexual assault from, like, somebody could have accused me and I could have accused somebody else. But since we're both guys, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I understand how guys work. But if you added a woman into the equation, it would be a whole different can of worms. And it's just so annoying the way that feminists they refuse to even attempt to meet men halfway and listen to what men have to say about our sex drives. And instead they think that they can, like, brainwash us into behaving in the way that they want us to, and that they will brainwash every man on earth to make sure that no woman ever gets raped again. It's like, are you crazy? Thank God Hillary Clinton didn't get elected.
Well, there's a lot of situations I've seen where I feel like you've gotten to that point where somebody says stop, which has happened to me, and instead of them keeping going, they pull back and they stop, but they feel the need to. I've seen a lot of feminists comment on that. Like those kinds of situations, they feel the need to still extrapolate on, I still feel like I was violated. You said no, they stopped, done.
Yeah.
But the fact that, I guess it takes people a little while longer than they're uncomfortable to say no. I don't know. People want other
that's
people.
on them, though. You can't ask whoever your partner or just opposing person in the room is to read your fucking mind. And that seems to be what the rule here is.
Well,
have you ever been
like feminists do wants men to read their mind? It's kind of a lot like how Vernaculus did a video that's against these shies, and it's kind of like where are you from? It's considered rape or whatever, or sexual harassment.
And it doesn't help when you have somebody like Amy Schumer or fucking, who was it, Leah Dunham? One of those two was saying, I read through my diary and I thought back on it, and yeah, that was, force on me. No, bitch, you can't think back on it and then go, oh, okay, if it was a problem, you would have known about it then. and you would have stopped it
All
right
right.
then and there.
Show of hands, not literally, but how many of the people in this chat, or even the people on YouTube, have had sex with somebody that they may not 100% have wanted to have sex with, either because they were drunk and they felt sorry for this person because they seemed really desperate, or something along those lines.
Are you asking
Or-
if
or-
ugly is a thing?
or because you realized that you couldn't really get rid of them that easily and you wanted to get off, so you're like, okay, fine.
Yes. Or even if you didn't want to get off. Because I have slept with people before that were not my type. I wasn't attracted to. I needed a place to crash for the night. I just because I didn't want to drive home drunk, that kind of thing. And they just kept on laying it on like, oh God, you're really sexy. I'm sorry. I'm just really into you. And it's been a long time and blah, blah, blah. And at some point you just roll your eyes and you're like, all right, you're already rolling my pants down. Just do this. And just think of something sexy so you can finish. And then they're gone.
And
Do it
as
if they can
guys-
bring
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
I don't know. I mean, I've been in situations where I was helping a friend out. She was drunk and depressed about her boyfriend breaking up, and it could have gone that way, but instead I kind of walked out of the room, and then another guy had come in after she had passed out,
Ooh.
and then she thought, yeah.
Oh, that's rough. Nah, but the reason I'm saying this is because you oftentimes will walk out of that situation feeling like, wow, I feel really taken advantage of almost. Like I feel uncomfortable with what I just did. This is not somebody I'm going to be high-fiving anybody about later, or even if it was somebody, but you just didn't want to do it. But you chose to do it.
Yeah,
You can sit like, I could have gotten up and walked out. I could have said, no, I don't want to do this. And they could have said, please 20 times and finally said, okay, fine. If you just chosen to fight a little, like, it's a concept of like, I had sex because I was tired and I didn't feel like explaining why I didn't want to have sex. That kind of thing.
yeah.
Now, sorry.
Just because you had sex with a creep doesn't mean that it was rape.
Exactly. And a lot of people will turn around and be like, I was taken advantage of. I was raped. I have had not a million. Okay, let's not. I hyperbole. Okay. I have had a handful of people that I have, sometimes in my younger years that I slept with that I did not want to sleep with because it was much more convenient in my head to sleep with them than to have that conversation. And to be like, because I'm drunk, I'm tired, I just want to go home or whatever. But it was not rape. It was not forced. It was something that I regretted afterwards. But at the end of the day, I consented to it. I accepted it. And I chose not to take the harder route, which was to just get up and leave.
And
This makes me think of Karen Strong talking about evolution psychology, where the women act the way this way because women could get pregnant at any moment, and they could be stuck with a baby that they really don't want, with a man who probably don't even want to take care of that baby.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not even just that, though. I mean, what all of that really comes down to is at the end, and no knock on you. I mean, your answer at the end there was, I take responsibility for what happened. If you make a choice and you regret it, well, learn and move on. I don't know what else to tell you. And
exactly.
It seems like this has really come down to, well, I shouldn't have to take responsibility for my actions. I am owed everything from.
Well, yeah, it's like the Mary Cost. It's like the Mary Cost thing, the 1 in 4 thing. A lot of those women were asked, "Did you feel like you were pressured into sex?" Pressure does not equal. I'm like the feminists act like women are the only people who are only gender who are pressured into sex.
Yeah, well, okay, so here's the thing. Feminists do absolutely hold on. Feminists do absolutely want every sort of conceivable bit of leverage and power over men in terms of rape allegations. And I think the reason why is this. um and this is just a theoretical, and um I realize this would sound a little bit hypocritical because I was just making fun of feminists for thinking that they know how men think. But when feminists do it, they're trying to talk about the male sex drive and like how the male sex drive works, which is something that they can never understand. Um, Although if you, the piss metaphor I think is pretty good. Like I don't know why that's hard, like if you're just like look, men have to get off the way that you have to piss. That's just sort of how it works. But okay, so the reason that feminists are so obsessed with rape, because let's face it, they are. It's like practically all like especially radical feminists, like the radical feminists that are scared that transgender women are going to rape them, and that there literally are a lot of radical feminists that are scared that women might rape them. They are obsessed with rape, likely because they've been raped. And what I th-
Be right back.
and the feminists who become activist feminists who advocate for these laws and advocate for consent courses in universities, the thing is about them is that, and this is just my theory. This is my theory about how they sort of think. Um, as a woman, you you learn very early on that it's not acceptable for somebody to physically harm you at all, and it never is. Like there's always going to be somebody to come to your rescue, and there's almost never going to be an instance where a man is actually going to like physically attack you at all, unless you're drastically provoking him. You're never in middle school. Women don't get beat up in the hallways like the way that boys do, or get beat up because they seem queer. Um, like guys will beat up other guys just for the fun of it. And maybe it happens a little bit with girls, like girls will pick fights with each other, but not as much. And the type of girls that do, they live in rough situations where things happen. So what happens is this upper middle class white woman who has never ever had somebody attack her. She's never even been slapped across the face, and she knows that if a man ever hit her, she could get him in a whole bunch of trouble. But it's never even come close to having that happen. Her whole life, she's existed as if she was in a glass case that nobody could even touch. And then if she gets raped, this is the most traumatizing thing in the motherfucking world to her. And it's not just that rape is traumatizing, which I'm sure it absolutely is. I'm sure it is to anyone. But it's even more than that. It's the first time in her life when a man was willing to physically harm her and was doing it just for the hell of it. He wasn't trying to rob her. He wasn't trying to, he just felt like physically harming her, and there was no way she could get him to stop. And that's absolutely terrifying. And she felt powerless to defend herself, and so she's traumatized that she felt like after she already had the entire world on her side in terms of keeping her safe, because she was an upper middle class white women, and nobody ever fucks with upper middle class white women, and yet still somebody did. She wants the world to try even harder because she felt like the world already was keeping her safe, but it didn't do a good enough job. And and then she becomes irrational, and she thinks like it's the world's fault, as opposed to just realizing that like she already had it really, really, really fucking good, and it's just not going to get any better than that. You just sometimes there's rapists, and sometimes you need to make sure you don't get raped, and sometimes you still do. The end. Do you guys understand? Do you guys follow my train of thought?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Basically, there was like this sort of a problem where women in Latin America are more likely to get raped than anywhere else. Same thing with Middle East. But since I came from Latin America and only speak, in Latin American regions, and the reason basically women are more likely to get raped because usually it's sort of that what you said, that there is some extreme trauma, but it's most likely on poorer and lower classes. But I often basically the idea is basically I had this idea. Well, the only way to prevent rape is to teach women how to defend themselves. Basically, I just suggested why not just give women the rights to have access to firearms. And then back in my country, it's like, gun rights are very restricted that you can't own anything bigger than like a 9 millimeter. And it didn't felt like very right to me because my dad was in the Navy and he is a big Second Amendment supporter. And I sort of inherited that from him because obviously you have to defend yourself, especially especially if you go to places that basically parts of my country believes there are places that are very dangerous. And out of fear that I might get mugged, I always need that. God, I need to get a gun. I need to get a gun. Cause with Dad there wasn't really a problem because he had a gun carried with him, and nobody was gonna fuck with him.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I carry a weapon
Yeah,
in my
I
hip
do.
every day.
I do think that it would be great for like women to carry guns, learn martial arts, carry some type of weapon, but it's kind of a lot like the most resistance seems to be coming from feminists. It's kind of like the special underwear, the special nail polish to tell if your drink's been tampered. It seems like feminists are the number one people arguing like no 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 no, you shouldn't have to protect yourself from rape. No man should ever rape you rather than you protecting yourself from rape, which, doesn't
Well,
make any sense why the biggest pushback is coming from feminists. I mean,
sure it does. You'd
And
have to get over the entitlement before you could agree that you had to take responsibility for your own safety.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a good point because like I think that yeah, like poorer women, like if you were to talk to the average, black girl that grew up in a ghetto or somebody who grew up in Central America, they would understand that they have to defend themselves because there's enough situations in which, like there's not going to be some person around, you're not
that's what it is. As rape might be the worst thing that ever happens to a middle class white woman.
well, and it might be the worst
Whereas,
thing, it might be the worst thing that happened to one of these girls, um too,
whereas
like,
in the ghetto or like Central America or somewhere that's impoverished, you know, the playing field for men and women is actually a lot more level. Girl's going to get in fights. A girl's going to get, like the same things that a boy her age might have to deal with, she'll have to deal with. So
yeah, and if a girl gets in, okay, like let's say like a girl gets jumped by three girls when she's like 12, and that this is not an entirely uncommon thing. If it was a white girl that got jumped, a upper middle class white girl that most feminists are, or Asian, let's face it. So
Mhm.
if this is a feminist and she were to have gotten jumped by like three girls and they beat her up and she came home, her parents would fucking not stop until they found the parents of those other three girls and blah 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 blah. It would be the biggest fucking deal. It would probably be on the evening news. Like, oh my god, this white girl got jumped, blah blah blah. It would be such a big fucking deal. If this happened in a black neighborhood, the parents would be like, oh yeah, where were you walking? They would ask questions. They'd be like, oh yeah, what's the beef about? Like they would try to like figure.
No.
You're taking.
It's not even like that. It's not even like that. It was always, oh, you got your ass beat? Well, why don't you go back out there and then don't come back until you get some scalps?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
You learn to fight.
Kind of like I grew up in a ghetto, and I was always taught in the ghetto to fight back. Like I was always taught to fight back. Like if they beat you, you beat them back. You kick them here, you scratch them there. You do this. You need to go and kick some ass.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. What I'm
So
saying is that the
start-
parents would be very likely to prepare the kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be like, yeah, because this could happen. This could happen again.
Literally anything not white knighting for their kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Pretty much.
So these white girls, and these Asian girls, or the fucking feminists, the rich, the upper middle class girls, they there is, like, okay, I like to say that all feminists are authoritarians. Like, they want to be able to control people, and it's so funny. Some of them will pretend that they don't like the cops because Black Lives Matter, blah 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 blah. But the second they hear that one of their friends' boyfriends maybe is beating her, then there's like online Facebook smear campaigns, and they're telling everybody to call the cops, and like they need the authoritarianism because it's never occurred to them to have to actually handle their problems themselves. It's
I have a
that.
story. When my sister was in grade school, I forget, maybe about third or fourth grade, there was this girl who did not like her. Her name was Ashley. This girl was like from like she's had a little bit more money than our family did or whatever. And one day, like after recess, my sister came back into the classroom, and Ashley was sitting there crying real tears, and she made up this elaborate story about how my sister cornered her and punched her for no, and everyone believed her. There was absolutely no, like my sister had no reason to lie. She was a little fat girl. Nobody liked her, but she had no reason to go. She wasn't a violent girl. She's never been violent, but that was just something that she chose to do. It was so whenever anybody asked me why I think, like a woman would lie about rape, I'm like, look at how she was raised, maybe. Like it's not that hard to make something up. It really isn't. To say something, and just because you don't like the person, just because you might have had people side with you, like if you are used to having people swarm around you whenever you're upset about something, I mean, it's really about how good you are about manipulating. The same way you can lie about anything else. Nobody even looked for a bruise on her. Nobody looked for anything. They just pulled my sister in the office and said, "You're getting a detention, or you're getting this." I forget even what they did to her. They said, "You don't hit other girls."
Yeah,
Nobody saw.
when it comes to my school, there's some. Well, I mean, I'm out of school. Obviously, I'm 28, but back when I was a kid in school, one of the things that I've noticed is that when it comes to white guys, they seem to be at a white girl's beck and call. Like a white girl could say anything, and a bunch of white guys will come to her defense of anything, whether
Yeah.
she's telling the truth or whether she's lying. There's just needs to be at a white girl's beck and call. What I did find stranger being a kid in school was seeing that there were black women who felt the need to protect white women. That was the part that confused me because black girls would beat up other black girls all the time in the ghetto. In the ghetto, you had to fight another black girl and whatnot. But when I went to a predominantly white school, and there was this need for even some black women to come to a white girl's defense for any problems she had. So white women, particularly, just seems to be overly sheltered. And it's kind of like you could be telling the truth, you could be flat out lying, but people will still take your word.
That was this one time, and this was 20 some odd years ago when I was in high school. One of my acquaintances, I really didn't deal with them, uh, but he had hooked up with this white chick, and she had a boyfriend at the time. Boyfriend found out about it, and the first words out of her mouth was, "Oh, he raped me." So of course, that gets his dander up, and well, in my school we didn't do 101s. It just didn't fucking happen that way. So he got his group of friends together. We got our group of friends together and pretty much headed out over a chick.
What was she lying?
Fuck yeah, she was lying.
Okay. I
Well,
was just making sure.
that's the thing about this whole rapist thing. Like, it's funny that the feminists point out the obvious fact of, like, we need to teach men not to rape. It's not that. There's going to be fucking assholes out there who are going to do things like that. But obviously, it's a factor of like, don't be an asshole. We don't need to teach them not to rape. We just need to tell them, don't be that asshole, because obviously it incites other men to do crazy stuff like beat the crap out of other
Yeah,
men.
I mean, it's definitely helpful to like remind people every once in a while, though. Like, like the consent classes, they they pretend it's that they're trying to teach people consent. Bull fucking shit. What they're trying to do is give them a bunch of fucking false statistics and indoctrinate them into being feminist social justice warriors. Like, there's a lot more in the consent classes besides the consent stuff. Um, but even more than that, I had I had a really irritating thing happen to me on Facebook the other day. I was trying to talk about the Duluth model of domestic violence, which is a do you guys know what it is? I'll explain it for the audience just in case nobody knows. The Duluth model of domestic violence counseling is something that was hatched in Michigan, in Duluth, Michigan, by a bunch of radical feminists. And they follow patriarchy theory, which is the theory that all men collude with all other men to oppress all women. So obviously this is completely inaccurate, because men actually go to great lengths to serve women and protect women. There's been entire wars fought over women, but of course, the people who believe patriarchy theory don't care about that. What they don't think that it's an act of servitude or self-sacrifice. What they think it is that men just view women as their property, and that's the reason why. And so, these are people who are irrational. Somehow, their theory that all domestic violence is an act of patriarchal terror, because they view all heterosexual relationships as the man is in power and the female is a subordinate class. That's their entire worldview. So they think that even if the woman is physically attacking the man, it's almost unanimously because she was actually defending herself in some way, even if she was the one instigating it and attacking him with a frying pan. So,
well, that's the Duluth model right there.
Yeah. So it's the Duluth model is absolutely insane. And I had this feminist, like, I was trying to explain, and she was like, "Oh, well, that sounds imperfect. What do you think would be better?" And I was like, "Well, there's another model, which is that, domestic violence is usually passed down generationally from someone's parents. So people who grew up in an abusive household are more likely to be abusive towards their partner, and people who are abusive, or I didn't even say the whole thing of what it was. I'm like, well, there is another, because I had posted a Karen Strawn video where she talks about the other model, and I was like, well, there's another model that's mentioned in it, and then the girl was like, yeah, but that doesn't really solve anything. That just talks about what happens when violence happens. But how do you stop violence from happening, really? And I'm like, is this a trick question? Like, what? And she's like, well, no, because you're treating it like violence is the assumption. But I as a feminist, I think that we can come up with construct. And I'm like, bull fucking shit. No, you can't. Like, it's like this is kind of like maybe you're basically asking me how what is my theory on how to get couples not to ever fight. Well, I don't think I don't think that that's really a productive thing to pretend that I can answer. I obviously I can't answer that question. It's kind of like asking me, like, how do you get people to stop drinking? And when all I was saying was that prohibition didn't work. Like,
how is the Duluth model stopping couples from engaging in violence?
It's actually making it worse, because it doesn't offer them good counseling. Because if domestic violence happens, they sit the couple in a room, or they sit the man in a room by himself, and they basically just say over and over, there's never an excuse to hit a woman. There's never an excuse to hit a woman. There's never an excuse to hit a woman. And what that does is it does not work out their actual problems. If the woman sits there, like, and yells at the man and calls him worthless and throws fucking water on the man, and like, there's a reason he's hitting her. Now, I'm not saying it's good that he hits her, but like the counseling could at least potentially actually try to, you know, work out the problems a little bit. And so yeah, so
It's not just
I gotta
that
go,
though.
guys.
Later.
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 It's not
happened?
just that.
Later.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what happened to the whole idea of conflict resolution? Like, has that disappeared?
Well, yes, but outside of that, the other thing that the whole "it's always a man," don't there's never an excuse to hit a woman thing does is incentivize women to use it as leverage. Now, how many do, I don't know, but let's be honest here. If there are two people and only one of them gets in any legal trouble for hitting the other, the one that can't get in trouble can hit you with a frying pan and go, what are you going to do about it? Call the cops and you go to jail.
yeah, exactly.
It's an intense, crazy power dynamic.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I've been thinking. It's kind of like the problem with over sheltering. And I hate to say this, but usually how white women are usually upper middle class, are used to being over sheltered. It to me causes this narcissism, this where
Absolutely.
it causes intense narcissism because you lie. Everybody comes to your defense, even if you're lying.
Yeah.
People will defend you. And it's kind of like when you don't face consequences for lying, you're going to become incredibly narcissistic. Your ego is going to get into your head because you're used to getting your way. And so you want more power. And then it's kind of like, fuck, man, I could lie and get you, arrested. I could lie and destroy your life. I could do anything to you because, like, why not? And that's where things went wrong. People went wrong with the whole, oh, my precious little princess. But it's not just fathers pampering their little daughters, calling their daughters a princess, and mothers calling their daughters a princess. Again, in my school, there were white boys who were at the beck and call of a white girl, just at her beck and call, whether she's lying, whether she's telling truth. There are girls who, I know that they were lying, but these white guys would rush to her defense.
Yeah.
And
And it's not even
And then the next thing you know, it's a 10-on-10 battle on the football field while the teachers have to call the police to break the damn thing up.
Yeah, and it's not even just simple lying, but like repeated awful behavior that these girls are excused for. Like they'll snidely insult people over and over and just like badger them and just, like anytime a guy says something, they'll be like the guy will be like, yeah, I'm stoked, I'm like he'll say he's happy about something and she's like, I don't see what you have to be happy about. And like just like snide little bitchy ass comments like that where it's like, okay, you didn't contribute anything to the discussion. Like the guy's like saying like he's gonna go see a movie and she's like, oh yeah, are you sure you're gonna get let into the movie theater? I mean, I know you're 17 years old, but you act like a 13-year-old. Haha. Just like stupid, like shitty little comments like that. And then the second the guy freaks out and it's like, what the fuck is your problem? You're such a bitch. She'd be like, oh my God, I cannot believe he made a sexist comment about me. Oh my God, blah, 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 blah. Like there's this like weird double standard that they expect to get away with forever.
Yeah, exactly. Because, back to what I was talking about, imagine these girls all grown up. Can you imagine the girls I was just talking about, all full-blown adults?
Yeah,
that,
and I want to show you guys a video of it because have you guys seen the video footage of the feminist that gets arrested after she tries to like talk to there's these do you guys know the Black Israelites or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're like this like crazy black supremacist group that doesn't even try to hide it. Like they will probably totally admit to being like they I think they like talk about the Nubians versus the cave dwellers and everything. This feminist tries to get in their face and
Cutting out, man.
so they're just standing around doing their stupid little thing with their stupid little sign, which granted, like I'm not in favor of these guys, but I have to love what happens in this video. I'm going to show you guys here. I have to change my audio so you guys can hear it. Okay. guys hear me?
Can't hear you. You're good.
I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. So, I have to screen share too. I forgot. Let me screen share. So, here's the thing. This feminist is like coming up and like annoying them, and she has that entitled white women thing where she knows that she can just push them to their limits, and she thinks she can get away with it, and it does not work out so well for her. It's pretty awesome. So.
But I see you just morphed into reality all of a sudden, right? So
Wait, hold on. Let's go to the beginning.
I've seen this one and it's freaking hilarious.
It's awesome.
But I see you just morphed into reality all of a sudden, right? So do you want to get down the street, or do you want to stand here and look exasperated and disgusted?
Could you like stop interrupting you for 5 seconds?
Well, what is your question?
Have you ever been raped?
No, I haven't.
See, and there's the fucking thing. I'm sorry, wasn't I just talking about this? Like, they're all obsessed with rape. They think that rape is the only injustice that has ever happened in all of human history. So.
Well, actually, you know what? Let me correct myself. Let me correct myself. According to the definition of rape, what's the definition of rape? What is it? Get the etymology.
That's right.
Because yes, I have been seized. My ancestors were raped.
That's right.
From Europe and West Africa.
All right, well, he's being wacky.
Rape means to seize.
That is unfortunate.
Okay. It's unfortunate, right? That's what you Edomites always say. Now, do you have another question?
But have you ever had like a cock shoved up?
No, I haven't.
Well, then great.
Well, you know what? I've shoved my.
I mean, just the mere fact that he asked, what's the definition of rape? She couldn't think of it then. He gave her some time, and then all she had to say was, have you ever had cock shoved up your ass?
Well, and the other thing is, you can see in her face that she's enjoying this. Like, she knows she's fucking with them and that they can't really do anything about it because, she knows that they know that they can't do anything about it. So she's just basically bullying them. Like,
right. It seems like she's trying to poke the bear, get the response that she desires, so that she can cry that she's being oppressed.
Yeah, or just she's just trying to fucking like she knows that she's a white woman and it's in the middle of a busy intersection and that nobody really likes these guys anyway, so she can just fuck with them. Like, she can throw peanuts at the fucking bear from the fucking outside of the zoo wall, basically,
Yeah, this is what happens when women are used to getting their way and never ever getting in trouble as children, and are always having people to hold their hand, always having people coming to their fence. When they turn into adults, when they finally reach adulthood, that's what they become. To become a good adult, you would need to be disciplined as a child. People who face consequences as children grow up to be fine adults.
Yeah, it's weird. So okay, let's.
This into my women, and they like it. They tell me to go rougher, to go harder. They say deeper.
Oh my God. So all women want that.
Hey, sometimes I sneak in through the window without telling her unannounced.
Sometimes she takes. So what is your point, though? What is your point?
Ski mask.
You brothers can get back in.
Okay, I have to pause every once in a while so I don't get some sort of copyright strike.
So what's your point? Do you have any grievances coming up here?
Of course I have grievances.
So state your grievances, please.
That all men sexually harass women.
So
it's so fucking.
There it is.
I don't know where she even like it. I swear to God, it's like she got. I don't know if she was raped or if something just happened to her one time, and she couldn't.
She's gotten laid. Like, when was the last time anybody really thinks that she has gotten laid?
No, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I would say maybe she's feeling dude, and just trying to put fillers out there.
Well, but I think the thing is that like she's someone that like one time, when she was 16, she maybe got date raped, and she could not believe that 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 a man one time didn't do exactly what she wanted, and instead, like was like his horniness overpowered her control over him, and she believes that every man will do that now, because she couldn't believe that because prior to that she thought that every man would always do exactly what she wanted, because that's what most men actually do. So when it turned out it didn't happen one time and she got date raped when she was 16, she now thinks that every man potentially will always rape her, because the world she lived in before, that was never a possibility that a man would.
It's not just that, it's kind of like how parents, usually when it comes to white kids, white girls, their parents, they spoil them because, again, I was in the ghetto. I was taught to fight back. Like a bunch of black girls to fight me, I was taught to fight back and stand up for myself. These white girls, they get spoiled by their parents. No, they're spoiled by their teachers. The teachers love them. The teachers are like, get in front of the classroom, let's take pictures of you. They get love, adoration. They are constantly overflowing with compliments about how cute and adorable they are. Pictures taken. They are treated like a little white girl, especially the really cute ones, are treated almost like a little celebrity. And then it's like you have boys at her beck and call, always willing to do what she says, lying or telling the truth. You're going to be fucked up, not just because of the men, but sometimes because of adults and women, because of your teachers, because of your mother, because there are mothers who spoil their daughters. If you hurt their daughter, they will go to the teacher, they'll go to the principal, they'll start yelling and screaming. It's really, you have the whole world for you. You're used to getting your way, and that's going to cause narcissism, intense narcissism, a bit of authoritarianism. You're going to get mad with power. When you grow up, you are going to be a shitty adult. I bet Big Red that was in Toronto yelling and screaming at the men's rights movements. I bet she had it good as a child. I bet she had it very, very good as a child. She's used to getting her way. You can tell she's used to getting her way. That about time somebody challenges her on it, she's like, shut the fuck up. Do you see I'm talking here? Don't you see I'm talking? People are not just good. People need discipline. And I can understand when you're a mother. When you are a mother, of course, you naturally want to come to a child's defense. You don't want anybody to hurt your child. But, when these people grow up, this is the type of adults that they will become. People need consequence to face the consequences of their actions. And feminism is about women not getting consequences for their actions. And you see it in different countries. You even see it like in Spain, because Taylor Preston was talking about what men go through in Spain. And men can't really do anything. They could get in jail for everything if the article is correct. It's really terrible, and it's really going to it's going to give you a power complex. All that power is going to get to your head, and you're just going to have this God complex.
I'm.
Can I suggest, Prince?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
You go. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. So, Prince, can I suggest you might be giving this lady too much credit? It probably isn't that she got date raped at some point when she was a 16-year-old or something like that. I mean, the prevalence of rape to have this many feminists, or just the supposition is that every single rape victim immediately becomes a radical feminist, both of which I find unlikely. If the flip side of this, though, is this is a person who's never accomplished anything, has no ability to do anything with their life, but wants to have power over other people, this is how they get it.
Yeah. That absolutely. That's definitely true in a lot of cases. I guess yeah, what you're saying is true. I would say like probably 9 out of 10 feminists are aware that they are lying about all men raping all women or all men sexually harassing women. Like they probably know that that's a lie, but they know that if they exaggerate things, people will listen to them because they're women. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's probably true. But then there is that one woman who was raped, and she's the one that enables all of the other ones to say the things that they do. Because that one can tell the story and be like, it was so awful, and every man will do it, and he did it to me, and he'll do it to you. And, you know, so okay, let's continue with this because it's funny what happens.
Sure.
So you're generalizing that all men sexually harass women. What do you define as harassment?
Well, there's a kind of a broad spectrum.
Kind of, right? You never encountered. Go ahead.
Shut the fuck up. You want to see the spectrum?
Do you want?
See, she knows that she's can be crazy and get away with it and escalate things. Like that's what she thinks in her head.
Do you want to have discourse, or do you want to use profanity?
First, there's interrupting me.
Okay, I'll let you speak.
Like, oh my god, she knows she doesn't really have anything to say. She knows that. She's just going in there, provoking him, and then when he talks, he says that she's it's so infuriating.
It's because she's used to getting away with it. She is used to getting away with it. She must have done it many times before. She gotten away with it many times before. I see it myself when I was in high school, seen it in middle school. I've seen it over and over again.
Yeah. The girls they will provoke boys just for the fucking hell of it. Because it's fun for them. They think it's fun.
Go ahead and speak. You got the floor.
Oh, really? Have I? Have you stopped interrupting me?
Go ahead.
No. There's a spectrum, and it ranks from interrupting to
Oh, there's a spectrum, all right.
belittling to raping women.
Oh, it's so fucked up that she would equate interrupting and raping on the same, like...
Right.
If I had to deal with someone like her, I would just immediately walk away and just says, nope, not having it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, to not to her credit, but those dudes, their whole deal is to sit around with their little like sign talking shit about white people and probably saying that all white women are whores and like that kind of shit. Like they kind of do ask for it too. Which is, but okay.
Yeah, but look at her face. Look at her face. She reeks of being a narcissist. I mean, looking at her body language, she is clearly suffers from narcissism.
Yeah, and very delusional narcissism. You know, like I can handle a Milo Yiannopoulos and stuff. At least he's fucking entertaining. You know, like but like she's just fucking obnoxious. So.
Interrupting, right? So what I just did, that was a form of harassment.
He says,
yeah, get out of here, man. We ain't none of them guys, all right? You ain't about to come up here and cause no spectacle. Call the cops.
Okay, I have to pause it, but okay, so.
Call the cops. Call the cops.
That's right.
Yeah. Call the cops. Don't touch me. Fuck out of here.
That is uncalled.
Shut the fuck up. Get the fuck out of here. That's right.
I don't think this video is copyrighted, so we're just gonna watch it through. So.
Keep the camera on. Get the camera coming up here causing mission. All right. Death to America.
Look at her fucking face. Look at her like hyper like fucking battered white woman fucking shit going on. So irritating.
That's right. Look at her.
She's fucking pointing at him and like pretending to cry. Like it's like you're not fucking 8 years old anymore. You can't do this forever.
Victim. The lady white. Go get the KKK, right? That's what the KKK is all about, right? Protecting white women. She come up here trying to play the victim. Come up here trying to play the victim. Hey, get her. Y'all better get her. Please call the cops. Call the police. All right. She came up here assaulting us. It's on camera. That's right. Look at her. Let's get her. She came up assaulting us. She came up assaulting us. All right. That's right. Ain't nobody. I was being cordial with the lady, and look who you got to come to the rescue, right? Nigga, all right? Old Sambo, all right? Nigga. Get Proverbs 11 and 21, all right? Trying to fall there, Rick. Is that not what she was trying to do? But she resisted. Oh, she fucking up. Get it, yeah. Slam her head against the car. Get her.
Yeah. And this is where it gets good. You get to see her face when she realizes that, it's like, oh shit. And this is what I think is happening with feminists now. Like, so many fucking feminists, like the Anita Sarkeesians of the world, that they thought that they could continue to lie and, like, poke hornets' nests, fucking, attack men, attack their hobby, and say all this untrue fucking shit. And then when men got mad, they could capitalize upon the fact that men got mad. Same fucking mentality, except for the internet never forgets. Also, make sure that you don't have a fucking camera on you, you dumb bitch. And look at her face. When yeah,
I totally agree with you, but to me, it still comes down to how the parents, it comes to the teachers, because she's not just like that. She didn't magically become like that. She's like that because she's used to being pampered, used to getting her way, and her parents and the teacher, the school system, ultimately fucked her up because she's used to even the little boys. Even with little boys, they're at a white girl's beck and call. If you're all constantly treated like that, it's gonna turn you into a fucked up adult.
Yeah. Okay, that's basically, I think, the end of it. Unless they show her more, because it's just funny to see her cry. Like, oh wait, I think they show her put her in the cop car.
And the whole time she's like, "Please don't arrest me. Please don't arrest me."
No, she's probably saying, "I'm gonna call my father, and you're gonna get in so much trouble."
I'm gonna call my daddy, and he's gonna get his lawyer, and we're gonna take your badge.
Yeah. Or she's saying, "You're raping me. Stop it. You're raped."
Wasn't there any more audio to that so we could hear what she says?
Well, she was too far away to hear, so.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can tell that she brought on the tears. She's done it so many times in her childhood. She got arrested. She's bringing on the tears. She's crying suddenly because when a white girl cries, everybody needs to come to the white girl's rescue.
Including the other white girl that was there immediately to be like, "Hey, that is very uncalled for." And she was like, "Call the cops." And like, "Oh my God, I will." And it's just like, oh, these fucking people. I hate. It's not that I hate women, but they definitely really try hard to get me to.
It's like a video toxic femininity where like even women feel the need to come to the rescue of other women when they didn't see the whole thing. They just see parts of what happened and they feel this need to come to the defense of other women.
Absolutely. Yeah. The line that I always say is that women have an instinct to protect other women. Men have an instinct to protect women too. Funny how that works out for men.
Not in today's society.
Oh, but yeah, I think things were different though in ancient Greece because in ancient Greece they viewed women as manipulative, deceptive. So men in ancient Greece try to protect themselves from women by, I forgot how women were treated in ancient Greece. I don't think they were ever allowed to leave the home, but it wasn't because they viewed women as weak and submissive. It's because they viewed women as manipulative and crafty, and they were a bit afraid of what women would do.
In Sparta, it's a bit different because the women are a bit more equal to men. The reason why, and fun fact, in ancient Sparta, women did have a say in going on. They were allowed to go around, they were allowed to have socialized, but they were also allowed to have politics. That's because all of the men are out, in the military. Most of the men are in the military and they're out fighting, pretty much defending their homelands. So it was kind of like a mutual arrangement. And in the more northern countries, in ancient Europe, northern parts, like basically northern countries like the Nordic tribes, the women and men were pretty much on equal levels.
The same thing was true in ancient Egypt, I believe. Women were treated very well in ancient Egypt.
Yeah,
I
that's
forget
also
the
true.
details.
Women, basically the same rights women have today.
Yeah, I noticed that like the rights that women had in ancient Egypt were pretty much on par with the same rights that women have today. Women had it really good back then. It wasn't all bad in ancient times like feminists make it out to be. Where like
It was
men
only in
always
yeah.
dominated and women always submitted and take care of the kids. There were time periods where women had it quite well.
It was, I think that was only in, sort of in like Caribbean islands where that is the case, and in where the Abrahamic religions were pretty much had a lot of say in it.
Yeah, wasn't there a book of Ruth where Ruth, in the Bible, where Ruth, was a strong woman? I think.
There is. She was one of the judges around the book of, well, she was one of the prophets in the book of Judges. She was also a charismatic military leader.
Yeah, so women didn't always have it all that bad in ancient times. Not always.
It really depends on the region you live and what the customs and the norms are in the land. Really depends. Northern Europe, with the age of basically Nordic paganism, I think Celtic paganism as well, because it sort of falls underneath like the Celts, the Anglo-Saxon, the Britons, Franks, the Gauls. They, as far as we know in ancient times, the women and men basically had basically were on equal level, and they understood their roles. And reason why it wasn't because the men was dominating; it was basically for their survival.
Yeah, wasn't there a Queen Boudica in ancient Celtic region, like Ireland or Scotland, Queen Boudica, and she was like in charge of them, even though she was a woman, or she at least had a lot of power.
Yeah, I think there was, though I'm not familiar with her.
Well, feminists will never be happy. They will never be satisfied. It's sort of their thing. Like what feminists try too hard to sort of upend things that do happen naturally. Like men are always going to take the vast majority of leadership positions because men don't have to rear children and don't have the same type of maternal instincts. Like, I have a feeling, this is just a theory, men can make tough decisions. Like, they can make a decision to send people into war if it's going to save the lives of their tribe or society ultimately, you know? Whereas a female leader is more likely to just sort of like try to listen to sort of treat their nation as if it is a household and that they're trying to keep everybody happy. Look at Angela Merkel in Germany, for example. She's trying super hard to make sure that everybody pretends they're happy, including those immigrants, and like everything's supposed to be a-okay, even though it's kind of not. And you know there's a lot of things that she should be doing, but she's just trying to censor people and trying to demand that fucking she tried to demand that Britain stayed in the EU and things like that. So I don't know.
Have you heard about Angela Merkel? Let's see. What happened was the migrants, they pressed a lawsuit against her. Did you ever hear about that? I think it happened last year.
No, I didn't even hear about
No,
that.
neither
It was
did I.
interesting. It's like I can't believe the migrants actually put a lawsuit against her. I don't know if they won or lost, but I just found it so ironic because she was so welcoming of them. When really, just because you invite people into your country doesn't mean that they're gonna like you, especially if you just spoil them rotten. I mean, spoiling people doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to like you. It means that they're probably using you and taking advantage of you, kind of like the migrants who destroyed buildings because there wasn't enough Nutella in it. And gummy bears or gummy worms. I thought that was funny. Oh my God,
You
that's
basically,
hilarious.
it's sort of like if you're going to invite foreigners into your country and let them live there, you have to enforce the same laws as you would your own citizens. And basically says that your customs do not really apply over here in our land because this is how we run our country. This is how we do things. And if you want to stay here, you have to play by the rules like everyone else.
Yeah, but
Of
she
course, some racialists would disagree because say, no, no, absolutely just flat them, kick them out. Otherwise, more white genocide. Now, I don't really to that extent, but I do agree that the population is aging, but that's only because the government is just taxing the people to death and people simply can't afford to have kids. The only way to actually do that is to make it easier, give these people work, give them enough money, pay them enough money to maintain that level of population as well as intelligent management of resources.
yeah,
That,
because
that's not really true though, because everywhere that you find first world civilization, you find lower birth rates. It's not about taxes in any given place, large or small. It is that we as humans, who are animals just like everything else, when times are bad, we kick out as many children as we can in hopes of propagation of the race. And it's a biological drive. So while the taxes may have a negative effect, they're certainly not.
I don't know. I don't necessarily know if that's true because for me, I never had kids because I can't afford to take care of kids. Kids would be too much money for me. I could barely afford to take care of myself. I don't need the extra burden of having a kid to take care of that I probably really can't take care of. I'm already below the poverty line.
Well,
So
right, but that's your anecdotal story as opposed to what we know from every single first world country in the world.
It does seem to be that way, that when civilizations go pretty well, people stop having kids. It's strange. Okay. I want to look at that article. Okay, Boy Scouts pedo.
Didn't you just have this?
Yeah, I had to close the window though because it started freezing.
Oh, gotcha.
So is this no? I think that's not the men are afraid to join. Men are afraid.
what are you looking for?
On my Facebook timeline, and I thought it was interesting. Um, the Telegraph. Hold on. I wanted to read through it because I have not read through it. No, I can't find it. Okay, I will have to go back and find it on the Facebook timeline, but I can't dox myself. So talk about something while I do that.
Fair enough. Well, where were we at a minute ago? Birth rates in Modern civilization. Boy, that sounds exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe I think civil society always, it's like this old saying, right? Soft times create soft men create hard times create hard time creates good times, and cycle goes on and on.
Right.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Do you hear
Yeah.
an echo? Mm.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, do you hear an echo?
A little bit, yeah. Try again.
Oh, what do I say?
don't know.
There's the echo again.
I thought it was this guy who shared it.
Hang on just a minute.
This guy who shared it.
Hello, fellow lovers of free speech.
Hello.
Hey.
How's
hi.
it going?
How's it doing?
Yo soy un americano.
What's that?
He says he's an American.
Oh, okay.
No hablo español. Well, hablo español un poco.
Yo quiero rasurar un culo de chango y bailar con caballo.
Well, hablo español un poco.
I said I wanted to shave a monkey's butt and dance naked with a horse. I do hear an echo.
Well, thankfully, it's not me then, since I was just muted for all of that.
Someone's got their speakers way up.
Well, oh, there it is. Yeah, it's delayed echo too. Well, with everybody muted, there's no echo.
Wunderbar.
So I couldn't find that article. I was just looking for this article that I kind of wanted to read, but we can talk about anything else.
Oh, congratulations on your release status.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened, like why it changed, but I am happy that it did. So, yeah.
Indeed. Did you ever find out
Hey, Prince?
how much your trip to
No, I haven't actually looked, and I decided that I wasn't going to do it because of the fact that my live streaming was disabled, and that's one of the only ways I can get money. But now I'm going to maybe look at it again.
When is it?
It's in June, like
Oh, okay.
20th or so. So, yeah, and I'm supposed to also go to Minnesota for a screening of the Red Pill because somebody wants me to speak at it, which is cool. I'm gonna. I think would that make me an actual men's rights activist because I did something in real life. I don't know. I don't think you're an activist until you are actually trying to advocate for a specific action. Like if I were to try to help organize some campaign that were to change the Duluth model from being the law of the land in a certain state, then maybe I would be an activist. But for now I'm just an advocate, and even if I go to the Red Pill screening and talk a little bit, I'll still be an advocate. It's weird though. I'm starting to feel like what's the best way to say this? I don't really notice any other gay male that is doing this. Like there kind of was Milo for a little bit, but ultimately he isn't. He's not very. He's very deliberately not respectable. You know.
Yeah, that's part of his shtick.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas and I'm not a particularly respectable person. Like I would not want me to represent any sort of but at the same time, people, I don't know, as a gay guy, it does seem like I have certain things to say, and apparently people like the way that I say them. And men's rights activists are not particularly choosy about who represents them, apparently. So
Usually not. Hey,
um,
Prince, check the side chat in the Hangout.
yeah.
To me, you are well spoken. I mean, again, I loved your video on toxic femininity. I also liked your video where you talked about the top 10 things that the left doesn't understand about conservatives. That conservatives are actually smart. That conservatives actually do a lot of research. That many conservatives are gun owners. So it doesn't matter if you dox them or I mean, you said many interesting things, Professor Queens, and I am really glad you made that video because I think more people would actually listen to you because you were a social justice warrior. So
Well,
you
I
could
was
probably
never exactly a social justice warrior. Okay, here's what I'll say about that. I grew up in a very PC environment. Um, my mom was very, very PC, and well, my middle school was very rough and not PC. It was basically all day, every day, people calling each other gay and faggots, and like that was what my middle school was like. Because my middle school was like 80% black, and was in the inner city of a city that I grew up in, and so
is it a West Coast city?
yeah.
Okay, well that explains it right there.
So like my high school was very PC, but it was a small alternative high school, and the thing was like I never felt I kind of liked it that it was taboo that if anybody ever called me like a faggot or something like that would have been totally uncool. But the thing is, I also by the end of high school, or even sorry, within the first year that I was there, with freshman year, I totally got sick of the PC people. Actually, somebody was bringing this up in the side chat. There was this girl, Misha, who I mentioned in a video. She was this, like every sort of activisty thing that you could be, she was. She was this Jewish lesbian that was a vegan. And and the guy was asking me why why I mentioned that she was a vegan. Well, it wasn't simply that she was a vegan. There was a lot of vegans at my school, but she was trying to constantly evangelize people. And I remember very specifically, I'm sure there was some other annoying story where she said that like somebody had a tuna fish sandwich and she was like demanding that they go eat it outside because she could smell it or some shit like that. Like she was that type of person. Like she was just completely obnoxious and entitled. But I remember this one day she brought vegan cookies to try to you know get people to be a vegan, and she gave them out for free, and I took one, and it was just so bad. Like it was like vegan food has gotten a lot better than it was in the 90s. Like in the 90s there was not that many good vegan recipes and places to get vegan food. So her fucking vegan cookie was the worst cookie that I ever had in my entire life. And
was she like raw too, or
I don't think so. I think she just did not have a good recipe at all whatsoever, and it was just like, oh god, like you are not doing a good job of making me want to be a vegan at all. So there was people like her at my high school and various other people that were just they were just fucking annoying. They were just these very annoying people. And so what was the other thing? So my high school was like that, and I already thought that PC people were bad. But then it got to be the Bush years, and everybody, after about 4 or 5 years of Bush being in office, it became completely socially acceptable to be homophobic all the time, and it was weird, like against gay men. And it hadn't been so much the case in the 90s, but it got worse and worse. It was weird. It's hard to explain how that was. So I did get kind of SJW-ish about gay male stuff, but it was only because it was like a constant onslaught. Like if you would go on the internet, it wasn't just that people would make like silly gay jokes. It was like they were actually definitely homophobic. And it was very clear. And if you ever objected to it, they would flip the fuck out on you. Like, they wouldn't just be like, oh, whatever, dude, get over it. We're just joking around. They would be like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, what? Like, I'm not homophobic. I have one gay friend, but I'm going to gay bash you because you're annoying. Like, it was like that. And like, they were really, really crazy about it. And like, I have the sense that they had never they didn't really know gay guys, and they certainly never knew a gay guy that would stand up for themselves. They had no concept that a gay guy would tell them not to be homophobic, because they, in their environments where, you know, like maybe they did have one token gay friend, but that one token gay friend was used to the fact that all of his friends were kind of homophobic, and he never dreamed of saying anything about it because he wanted to still be friends with them, you know? So it was weird having, when social media first was popular, you know, around like 2003 through 2005, and these people that were from small towns or suburbs that didn't really know gay guys, when they first had to get used to the fact that like not every gay guy is okay with being kicked around. They had never encountered that. So I had a lot of run-ins online with people. Involved in certain forums, that because I was a rave DJ, and we had this like forum in the Northwest. It was called Northwest Techno, and I was big on there. I used to moderate it, but it got taken over by a bunch of people that were like kind of homophobic, and so I got kind of SJWE on there. But it was really specifically about mostly about gay stuff. And then I moved to the Bay Area, and all of my friends were almost unanimously queer because of the fact that it's so easy to do that in the Bay Area. And I ended up doing a lot of activist type stuff. But not like directly activist stuff. I still thought activisty people were annoying, and I thought that PC people were annoying. And one of the first things that happened when I moved to the Bay Area was that some lesbians got mad at me for using the word retarded. They like tried to give me a call out, and it was in person, and they were really shitty about it. So I knew that the PC people were shitty, but I also decided very early on that I was going to at least play by their rules, because I was doing, you know, music and theater, and I was like, well, if I'm going to be down in the Bay Area where everybody's all crazy PC, I will be PC just to avoid getting into fights. But very little did I ever actually call out somebody else and get mad at them. And I definitely never started getting brainwashed into believing certain things. Like, I never, ever for a moment thought that only white people can be racist, and I never for a moment thought that only men could be sexist. And I, you know, like these weird shifting of reality kind of things. The only thing that I will admit that I catered to was I was cooler about non-binary fucking special snowflake type people than I am now. Though granted, there was always this part of me that was being like, you're not non-binary, you're just a femme guy. Or you're not non-binary, you're just a girl that is pretending to be not a girl. I don't know why. But I was kind of like, yeah,
tomboy.
Not even a tomboy though. Like, half the time these were super femme women that just, you know, shaved the side of their head and dyed their hair blue and said that they were non-binary. But it's like, no, you're just a girl. You're definitely just a girl, like Milo Stewart. I knew a lot of girls that were like that. And so it was I always thought that they were weird and irritating, but I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm queer. I'm fine with gender deconstructionism, blah, 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 blah. I'll respect your pronouns. But then it got to the point where all the people, like, there was a period where the people who were like that, they were just kind of like that outside of feminism, it seemed like. But then around 2012, well, really more by 2014, then it became very apparent that they were no longer satisfied just being kind of genderqueer and whatever. And instead, it was all just a big conspiracy to attack men. Like it was like you couldn't just be a cisgender, like gay man at all. They would resent that because they would think that you were like, you know, purposefully ignoring your feminine side. And why would you want to do that? Like why would you want to be a bearded relative? Like I sound pretty gay, but I look pretty masculine. And people, it's like they resented me if I ever went to a queer party, which was mostly inhabited by lesbians and non-binary type people. They would look at me like, oh, you're not trying to be androgynous. You look masculine and you're a dude. That's not okay. And it was like and so all of that was really really annoying. And eventually I was just like, I no longer cater to the fucking queer bullshit either. Like I'm like, if honestly, it's to the point where if I went to a party, which I don't hang out in the city that I live in and go to these queer parties because I hate these people. I really really do. But if I had some reason to go to a queer party or something, and I met some girl that has pink hair, and she's like, and I'm talking to her in the kitchen, and then I refer to her as a she, and she like corrects me and says that she goes by a they, and it's kind of like awkward about it. I will just be like, okay, I can't talk to you anymore. Bye. I won't talk to them anymore because it's I think it's rude, and I will not cater to these people at all whatsoever. But I used to cater to them. I used to think it was okay. And I also used to even think that, the people that were saying that only white people could be racist, I used to at least believe that those people were doing it because of like some sort of good intentions or whatever. Whereas now, if somebody tells me that they think only white people can be racist, I assume that that person is racist because that's a racist thing to say.
Welcome to getting jaded.
There are something so I to say. One of the things that I found interesting in one of your videos is how you say that as a gay man, that when you deal with feminists, they want to help you, but they only wanted to help you so you could be like their slave. And
Yeah.
another thing I found really interesting that you said is kind of like when you were hanging around these SJWE types, they would love to say things like, if you have black friends, then you must be racist. And when you were with these SJWE types, they had no black friends at all. And you used to have a lot of black friends, but when you started hanging out with them, your black friends kind of like disappeared. But as you pushed them away, you started making more black friends. So when people say, well, if you say I have a black friend, or if you take pictures seeing surrounded by black people, you must be racist. Those people must be racist, and those people probably have no black friends of their own. And I mean, even what you're saying now, I mean, it's similar to what Blair White went through, because she hang around those SJWE types, and she had SJW roommates, and they tried to kill her. And it's like holy shit, what the fuck? You guys are gonna try to kill me, man?
Yeah, exactly. You're totally right. It is a very similar, I think, kind of experience where it's just kind of like I am obviously a very I think I'm a much less racist person than SJWs by far. Like, they project their own racism onto the world. They, it's like they can't think past identity politics, and they think that everybody else thinks that the way that they do, and it's like, no, we don't actually. Like I grew up having, friends that were racial minorities like my whole life. Maybe you didn't. But yeah, when you get enough abuse from these people, like I had so many different friends who were like my good friends basically turn on me because they became all racist, and then they decided that I was racist. And it was like after you go through that enough, and it's like you don't want to fucking hang out with that type of person at all whatsoever. And so now it's like, I'll go on YouTube, and it's like we can vent about this kind of thing. Like I brought this up in one video, but I was called racist because, and I'm not making this up. This was where it got crazy, and I drew the line, and I posted about it publicly on Facebook, complaining about it. I was making out with this Mexican guy for like a half hour, and he was really, really into me, but he was really drunk, and I was drunk too. Granted, I was very drunk as well. And we were at a bar and we were making out for like a half hour. And he seriously asked me 3 times each. He asked me what my sign was. And I told him Aquarius. And he asked me where I was from. And I told him the city that I was from. And it's a memorable city. It's not like some place nobody's heard of. But I seriously told him each question 3 times each. And we were like kept making out, and he had said that he wanted to go over to my house, which was, and I lived within walking distance, and so we were going to hang out at the bar a little bit and then go over to my house. And then finally he asked me, like, you know, what my sign was and what my where I was from. And I was like, damn, dude, you are a fucking, that's like the 3rd time that you've asked me each of those questions. You are a drunk ass Mexican.
I
But
was gonna
that's,
say, was there ecstasy involved, or at least alcohol?
no, just alcohol. No, and so I said, damn, dude, you are a drunk ass Mexican. And that's cool because I'm a drunk ass Irish Belgian. Because I am like Irish Belgian. And so I said that. I said those 2 things like together like that. And he like went inside, and then he came back out and he's like, you know what, I'm not gonna go home with you anymore because when you said that I wasn't a drunk ass Mexican, that sounds kind of racist. And I was like,
Nah.
well, you are. And I mean, I don't remember what exactly I said. But I think I said something like, and no, and also it was just like, I was like, well, but I didn't just say that you're a drunk ass Mexican. I said that I'm a drunk ass Irish Belgian immediately
Hey,
after.
I don't like
know?
you marginalizing my people, Holmes.
Yeah, and he was like, yeah, but, and I was like, okay, so I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say that it doesn't matter that, you know, even though being, you know, Irish Belgian also has a stereotype about it. Like everybody knows that Irish people drink and, you know, Belgian people drink. Like everybody knows that, but of course it's not a damaging stereotype. This is what you're gonna say. You're gonna tell me that it doesn't matter because I'm white, and if I bring up a stereotype about my white lineage, it's not as damaging because I don't actually suffer in society because of it, and you actually do because you're a Mexican, and so your stereotype actually damages. It's damaging, and he's like, yeah, that's right, and I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, you suck. Bye. And so I just walked away. I was like, look, if this is your reaction to me telling you that we have something in common, which is a stereotype about our ethnic lineage, I don't want to go home with you. And so I just like walked away. And but it really pissed me off because it was like, I was like, fuck that guy. I made out with him for a fucking half hour and he pulled that shit. Like, I'm glad I didn't go home with him. Like, thank God. Like, what else would he have pulled eventually, you know? Because it's like, I'm sorry, I'm the type of person that, like, if I'm intimate with somebody, I, like, even if it's a white guy, I'll be like, oh yeah, what's your lineage? You have green eyes. That looks like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, why am I not allowed to even mention
yeah, and that's the problem with most of it's all the snowflakes and everyone getting pissed off about just literally anything. I mean, the stereotypes are that for a reason, and everyone has them. It's not because they're it's not because they're not true that they're so prevalent. You know, I tell everybody I'm as racist as it gets. I hate everybody equally, including my own race. I'm an equal opportunity racist. But see, at that point, it just becomes comedy when you can laugh at the jokes. When you laugh at the jokes, because that's really the only thing that gets people offended over any type of racist comments or this or that, all, you know, whatever the SJWs plead to and, you know, virtue signal for. The problem is they give words power like that. I love racist jokes. I'm half Mexican, half Native American. I have funniest jokes, the Mexican jokes, black jokes, any joke you can think of. And that's the thing. Once you put once you take away the negativeness of it, that's all it is. It literally has nothing, no power except for you letting it have power.
And what pisses me off about it was that it wasn't even really a joke. It was more just like
an observation.
it was an observation of something that both of us, it was a true observation and also a comparison to me. I was like, look, we have this thing in common. We're both drunk ass people and we both have stereotypes about our lineage being drunk ass people. And, you know, and then what pissed me off about it more was that I was like, okay, I have had it up to here with these people trying to call everything racist. It's not cool. Like, it's getting in the way of my social life, you know? So I posted about it on Facebook, and I have this black friend that I used to be in a band with, and he was just getting to the point where he was turning into like hyper paranoid black person that was like, you know, like every few days on Facebook he would post something about white people this, white people that, and he's somebody that, you know, has always mostly had white friends anyway, which is what's extra irritating about it. So he decided to side with the kid and not with me, and like, he didn't have any good arguments. He was just like, well, blah 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 blah. Like, he acted like, oh, I don't get it, I don't understand where he would be coming from. And ultimately I had to basically tell my friend, I'm like, look dude, I do get it. I understand exactly what is going through his little head. He thinks that, you know, like, somehow, you know, it's a microaggression, and, you know, I explained the mechanics of a microaggression, and it reminded him of something that has probably been said in a derogatory way about him and his family members, and blah 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 blah. I understand, but I still don't think I did something wrong. Like, all I did was, it's like, look, there's literally the same stereotype about me being Irish Belgian, the exact same one. And there literally has been, you know, my mother, both her parents were alcoholics, and I hear about it all the fucking time. There, you know, like, yes, yes, maybe there is a slight, maybe it is slightly worse to be Mexican and have that stereotype about you. Maybe it fucking is, but at the same fucking time, get the fuck over it.
I think it's worse for the Native Americans.
Yeah, oh, that's definitely true. But but what I said was, it was just like, I was telling my friend, I was like, look, and it came down to me repeatedly telling my friends, I was like, you know what, I could have not said it, and maybe the world would be a better place in some, you know, alternate reality, except for I don't want to live in a reality where I'm not allowed to say things. I don't want to go to bed with somebody who I'm not allowed to say things to. And I put it like this, I was like, just because it's a virtue to be able to walk on eggshells doesn't mean that the world should be made out of eggshells.
Goddamn right.
When it comes, by the way, Chris, you know, what I do find interesting is that how in the past, in American history, you know, Irish were treated poorly. Irish weren't even considered, they weren't considered white, to be honest. Irish people were considered to be non-Anglo-Saxon, but right now here in the present, you know, you have white privilege. It's like, you know, well, you still have white privilege, and you're still treated like every other white person. But I think it's because many people aren't even taught about, you know, Irish history. You know, when you look at history, you are always talk about how black people were slaves, how black people had it tough, but there were even Irish people who were chattel slaves. So there were Irish people who had it really, really tough, you know. It all depends on which era. It all depends on the era, because things did get better for the Irish later on. I was talking to Modwayne about this. Like, me and Modwayne, we did multiple hangouts about this, and I think that the fact that Irish history not really being taught, and the focus being on blacks instead of both the Irish and the blacks, puts Irish in a position where they get treated like you're every other white person. You get treated like a white German, or, you know, whatever, and it's just like, no, you have it tough because you're whites. But with other groups, it's about historical oppression.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like, well, we had it bad in history. You know, even with women, you know, it's like, well, women had it historically bad, so we're still oppressed now, even though it happened to us. We're talking about years ago, you know. So I didn't find that.
Like, it was only as early as, like, you know, the early 19th, what was it, the early 1900s. You know, being being Irish was almost as bad, or even being Italian in some parts was being just as bad as being black or being Irish or whatever. I mean, it just depends on where you came from. Everyone's been marginalized, I guess you could say, or hated on.
Yeah.
And there was a time when even Catholics were hated in America, just because of that branch of Christianity.
Oh yeah,
and Catholics.
What pissed me off though was like ultimately, like, I was never trying to even go down that road, like in terms of the conversations. For me it was more like, hey, I don't give a fuck, let's all be friends, we can make jokes or we can make comments, but it's not serious, it's not a competition about who's more oppressed. It's certainly not, it certainly was not designed to make anybody offended. And then when the people started getting offended, I never even started catering to their bullshit. Like, I never started like trying to come up with some way that I was a victim. So therefore, like if I were to say like I have a disability, like if I were to start bringing that up and be like, well, I'm disabled, so like it's not cool to like do this because you put like if I were to start playing their game, like then maybe they would have given me some leeway, but I refused to do that. So by the time,
because you have self-respect.
Yeah. And so there was a number of years that went by where I basically, was cannon fodder to these fucking SJWs because I was not just disagreeing with them, but I was refusing to like even claim any sort of victimhood at all whatsoever. So they were just like, you're a privileged white male, you've had every advantage in the world, blah blah blah. And like I was not willing to tell them about all the different ways that I did not have an advantage because I didn't want to do that. And that's where I became really not an SJW. Like I never tried to victimize myself, and I was willing to argue with them for years. But I did still follow a lot of rules. Like I never said the word retarded. I'm good at like not pissing them off, and I'm good at like winning debates with them. And like for example, if somehow if a woman, okay, I know their game so well because I've had these conversations so many times. A feminist can tell you something like, "Oh, you're trying to trivialize rape because blah 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 blah. I bet you're a pickup artist and you watch rape porn, huh?" Or something like that. And they will say that to you. Like feminists will make these accusations, basically calling you a rapist on the internet, because you said that you didn't believe that somebody raped somebody. Like, hey, there's no evidence for this. Maybe we shouldn't decide that he's guilty. And they'll be like, oh, you must be a rapist too. And they're like, you must be a rapist too. I bet you objectify women all the time. And so if I were to say simply, no, I'm gay, they would probably say, oh, just because you're gay, you think you can't be a misogynist? I have news for you. Gay guys can be some of the worst. And
those people just need attention, and that's their problem. They didn't get, enough of it, either as a kid or in real life or just in general. That's the thing. They need attention.
Okay, so that's beside my point. Okay, my point is that there's this thing that would happen, which there was a change that happened around 2014, in which being a gay male not only no longer meant that you were down with the SJWs, like being a gay male did not, if you were a gay white male, that did not make you oppressed. Therefore, your opinions were no longer inherently valid because you were a gay white male. There was a very sudden change with that. And not only that, but it was even worse than that. It was almost as if they hated gay men, because if a gay man ever was so foolish as to mention, hey, I'm on your side, I'm a gay guy, I suffer too from discrimination, they would say, oh, just because you're gay, you think that you can't be racist, or just because you're gay, you think that you can't be a misogynist. And then it would prove to them in their little twisted head that you were a racist or you were a misogynist because you were so stupid to even say that you're gay out loud. So it is.
Why do social justice warriors and feminists always try to blame the gay guys then if you guys were treated horribly by them? Because they also don't know we're for our gay rights and we're
but here's the thing, they didn't do that during the election. They only did that after Trump actually won. Prior to the election, it was just nonstop hate from fucking feminists and social justice warriors to gay men. I think it has something to do with Milo Yiannopoulos or something. I'm not really sure. But, you know, like, there was constant, like, things like the fucking SJWs I knew in my sphere, like the fucking lesbians and the non-binary people, like, they were just talking shit about gay men constantly, saying that gay men are even more misogynistic than straight men and like all sorts of shit like that. And like, you know, and then the trans trender, the trans trenders who are males, you know, the ones who are like, they're actually just feminine gay guys who decide to dye their hair pink and shit. Those guys hate gay men more than anybody. They fucking can't stand gay men. And the reason why is because they can't get any dates. Because gay men don't want to date like really, really girly men usually. So those guys are super bitter against gay men. They're like, gay men don't understand my non-binary identity. I hate fucking faggots. And it's like, no, you mean that you don't, you know, that you don't do well on hookup apps.
I still don't get all this non-binary blah blah. I barely found out what cis meant, and apparently cis meant.
Yeah, same here, man. I barely understand any of those terms, and I was already at a college campus, and I still didn't understand that.
Goddamn.
I understand the terminology a bit, like cisgender means you're comfortable with your own gender, or you identify as your own sex. Like, I was born a woman and I identify as a woman.
Well, apparently cis is a way to marginalize us normies, apparently, or whatever they want to call us. I don't even know what to call it. It's just the word that was made.
It's just much to be like, you cis one, really, or the new word that came up with, a sexist. And it's like, what the fuck? You know, well, really the majority of people align with their own genders when really, I do not think that those people existed during, you know, the times of slavery or the times of segregation. You only hear it now because of Hollywood and salons.
Well, I don't know about that. I think throughout history, there's always been something like that, and but now it's just they have new words for it, and now there's you know, they can actually change.
The non-binary thing though is like just people that watched that one Star Trek episode where there was the non-binary planet and they think it's cool and they wish that they were, because there's so many I would say at least 25% of the people who identify as non-binary, like people who, you know, who are on Facebook or Tumblr, they're also really into aliens. Like, it's not hard to find little pictures of cartoon aliens and shit on their profiles. So yeah, had you guys seen this meme?
No, I haven't.
Nice.
Yeah, they think they're so cool with their oh my god, but it's like they're the fucking.
Oh yeah, happy 420, everybody. Sorry, not to interrupt you. Happy 420.
Yeah, happy 420. So the funny thing about this is, like, you know, I have a video called Trans Trenders and Bistratuals. And it's supposed to be like a historical account of queerness. And the thing is, I think this happens every generation or so. Yeah, every 10 years, there's sort of a new movement towards androgyny and that kind of thing. It just becomes fashionable for a period. So like in the 80s, there was the hair metal people where like you couldn't tell the difference between the men and the women very well, you know.
Definitely,
I could.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, we had
Girly men.
well, yeah, there was the goth. There was a lot of different ones in the 90s. There was the gothy girly men, and then there was the ravers, where like all the like guys were wearing arm full of like rainbow beads and like looked. And both the boys and the girls would dress in this kind of like sporty clothing and go to raves, and everybody would take ecstasy and they'd all make out with each other, and then everybody thought that they were bisexual, but we actually called them bistratual.
Bistratual.
Yeah, and then last decade we had the.
I'm a lesbian stuck in a man's body. Does that mean anything? I don't know.
Well, wait a minute. Does Riley did this, and I was like, well, I'm actually a lesbian, and he is the only person who thinks he's a lesbian because it's kind of like, or his girlfriend Fiona. And it's like, come on, you didn't go through surgery. You have no interest in going through surgery. Just before college, he thought trans people were weird, and he hated the trans community. It was college that changed him. Now he's lesbian.
Yeah. When I had this chat with my younger brother, and I asked him,
that when you put a penis in a vagina, you are having lesbian sex. I'm sorry, penis in vagina is not lesbian sex. He doesn't look at a girl.
I asked my brother about what he thought about transsexual, and he says, "Oh, those are nasty. Those are disgusting." I was like, "Who taught him that?" And I read this article about how Gen Z is more conservative than we are, like how they're more red pilled.
Yeah. So but what I was going to say, just to finish out the trajectory, is last decade we had the MySpace hair people, the like emo and scene kids, and they were very androgynous.
Oh yeah, those faggots.
Yeah, they were very androgynous. Like the girls and the guys basically looked the same. They all had that black hair that was kind of swooshed with the bangs across the sides. And this decade now we have the fucking feminist trans trenders. So.
Wow.
Well, I think it's going to happen because you kind of see this all across the board. Is that not because of the internet? They are driving everybody crazy. Like I am from Alabama. You don't see these types in Alabama, at least not too much of them. And even though they're mainly from like California, they are driving everybody crazy. I mean, when you look at these feminist, type people, SJW type people, they get so many downvotes. They are constantly bombarded with downvotes. But when you look at people speaking out against them, it's overflowing with upvotes. It's kind of like it helped the Amazing Atheist reach 1 million. It got Sargon of Akkad to 500,000. I mean, it's kind of like it got so many people. Crawl and T, that guy T, Mr. Repsian, even Jacqueline, because even Jacqueline spoken out. I mean, she's kind of halfway, like she speaks in favoritism of sex positive feminism, so she's kind of half for it, half against it, but her videos against it do very well, People are getting annoyed with it, and like when I go to like on Twitter, you can see so many people on Twitter speaking out against these types, and it's kind of like when I found Ben Shapiro, I was a little bit surprised because again, I live in Alabama. You don't really see these types of people in Alabama, but I got like a book from Ben Shapiro from 2010. He's complaining about people acting like that in 2010. So like he's also from California, and I was surprised that those people exist because I don't really see them where I'm from.
Yeah,
but they're not.
I don't really see them where I'm from either, because Belize is kind of like a third world, developing country. So yeah, basically I think homosexuality is starting to get a positive message, but it's still sort of frowned upon, at least in, even in urban, many parts of rural areas, but there's some family members that just don't really care either way. But I've never really ever seen an androgynous kind of person in Belize before, because that was kind of like, maybe there were like two in the city, but you rarely see them.
Well, it's a first world thing. This is not a thing you can indulge in when the economy's shit and you need to feed yourself.
Yeah.
Point.
Yeah, but these androgynous types, you don't see them in Alabama. In Alabama, most people look normal. Sure, in high school, you may see some androgynous looking people in high school, like 2 or 3, but they are the minority. And some of them, it doesn't last for very long. Like once they're with the goth kids and they're wearing all black, they have a pagan pentagram or pentacle, they have a black eyeliner, and then the next year they are with the preppy kids and the football players talking shit about the goth kids.
Yeah, that definitely happened when I was in high school. When I was in when I was a freshman, I like tried to sort of be punk rock for like 3 months, and then I became a raver.
A what? A raver?
Yeah.
No, at least you're not emo. I couldn't tell. Isn't emo just emo is just goth for pussies?
I don't know if
I'm pretty much a
Yes,
full-blown
basically.
metalhead.
I wouldn't say goth are not pussies. I would say it's like punk rock for pussies.
No. I was saying emo was goth for pussies.
Yeah, no, but I would
Yeah.
say goth is kind of pussy too.
Ah, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Damn, so they must be. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Goth with glitter is, I think, the best description of emo I've ever heard.
Goth with glitter?
Yeah, because they're like goth kids that you threw My Little Pony at.
Oh, that's a whole nother level. Huckleberry's in the chat. I got a joke for you guys because he's here. What do you get? What do you get when you put together 64 white guys?
What?
One whole Cherokee.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a joke I can tell on my Facebook friend list. I'm gonna do that right now.
Hey, definitely.
Oh, go ahead, dude. Do it.
Because of course, Facebook loves it when you make fun of stuff.
Yeah, white people. Apparently, white people you can make fun of. Apparently.
Yeah, and men and gay men if you're a non-binary.
Shit,
Oh well.
That word again.
Oh yeah.
Are they like part of the Borg?
Wait, what? How does the joke go again?
What do you get when what do you get when you mix 64 white guys or 64 white people?
You get
Full-blooded Cherokee.
mix. Cool. Oh.
Oh yeah. Basically, as according to my music taste, I'm just pretty much a full-blown metalhead.
I listen to some pop rock. I listen to some metal dance music. Listen to a little bit of everything. Some of my favorite bands are metal and punk, but I mean, I do still have some songs from Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Jay-Z. I listen to everything. Country music.
With metalheads, they don't have they absolutely always seem to troll on emos back in the day because with metals, they're very, very clear about their gender. They basically just flat out just expresses it. Like, if you're masculine, you just basically show you're masculine. You're just flat out not afraid to show it. It's like we're the most unapologetic people you could ever meet.
But rockers?
Yeah, metal is pretty good.
What do you consider metal? Because the metal, I believe, has spanned a few generations.
Like basically thrash metal like Testament, Megadeth, Anthrax, Exodus, and there's also a new wave of British heavy metal like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. There's also the really extreme variants of metal, more specifically black metal like Dark Funeral, Burzum, Mayhem, Gorgoroth.
God damn, I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, Megadeth is pretty good.
Oh, Megadeth. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is like early 90s?
Like 80s thrash metal, basically the one thing that was competing against the glam metal scene.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I also listen to some glam metal like Malice in Wonderland, and I just listen to everything. It's hard for me to find something. Well, I don't like gospel, but gospel is probably the one thing I'm listening to. But I listen to pretty much anything Christian. I will listen to him, His Supreme Majesty. I will listen to just about anything Japanese, Spanish. Pretty much anything.
Huckleberry wants to know what would Five Finger Death Punch be. I guess it's a rock. I told him, as far as I'm concerned, they're one-hit wonders of a stolen song. Good Lord. Yeah, when I was well, I'm a class of '99, and I'm dating myself here, but I would think when I was younger, like metal was Metallica and what else was around there? Yeah, Metallica, and even no, not even hair bands, shit like that. I don't know. I wasn't really a rocker. Nope.
Oh, sorry, I'm typing something into the chat. I never really knew much about metal.
Metal was crazy back then too. You've got Sepultura from that time and all that other kind of crazy crap that was going on back then.
There's some folk metal. Yeah, they're Brazilian. I think they mix death metal, thrash metal, and black metal, but they use traditional Brazilian instruments. Hell, one of their most well-known songs would be Roots.
The Black Album. Someone was saying that in the tour. Yeah, that I mean, I love the Black Album. I wasn't a rocker, but just that when Metallica came out with that Black Album, I was young. But goddamn, that was the shit. Still is to this day. I don't care who says it.
Most people would argue that the black metal was Black Album was at the time when Metallica peaked, because most people appreciated their earlier work like Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, and Justice for All.
Oh yeah, I know they had other albums and shit like that, but
yeah,
and one was good. That one I know that's an epic one.
Yeah, it's pretty epic.
Their early stuff was quite good music. It was kind of like reminiscent of the type of like I'm not a metal expert, but I guess like who kind of reminded me of like Dragon Force maybe. Yeah, like where it's like very fast and like intricate, and not necessarily like it was hard music, but it was also very very melodic and yeah.
I like, again, I mean, maybe it's just because of my age and where, the time I grew up in, but I kind of liked some of the hair bands that were ballads, I guess you'd call them, or they're called now, like
power ballads.
Yeah, power ballads. Yeah, there's just some like Scorpions. I fucking love the Scorpions.
Oh yeah, same here. I love those guys.
It's like the take me to the
and somebody like you. Oh my god, that's the shit right there.
Yeah, that was good shit.
Like I'm not gonna sing it.
I can't wait for the nights with you.
There you go. That's the shit.
I'd do anything with you. I just wanna be loved by you.
What was it? There was like there was a compilation that you could buy from like a 1-800 number. Was it called like Monsters of No?
Yeah, Monster Ballads.
Rock.
Monster Ballads.
Yeah, I bought that. Fuck yeah. Have you guys ever heard of I know it's probably off topic, but Steel Panther?
I've heard of them, but I'm not familiar with their work.
God, okay, you guys got to watch this right now. Even if you can stream it on here right now, they got some funny songs, but they make new power ballads, but they look and sound like an old like a mix between like Guns N' Roses, White Snake, all the hair bands. They make their own new stuff, but it sounds just like hair band stuff. I can't even explain it, but you guys got to hear them. It's called Steel Panthers. They have. I don't even think I could say the name of some of them on here.
So
But yeah, you guys ever have the chance to check them out?
I'm gonna have to get off, but I could go for maybe like 20 more 10. I'll say 15, 20 more minutes if somebody donates $5 or more. And maybe I'll go a little bit longer if somebody.
I could do that.
Oh.
Shit, huh?
Well.
Well, I know it doesn't kind of count if I'm doing it.
No, it does. It does. No, I'll take it. I'll absolutely.
Oh yeah, I know. I'll still do it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, someone else is gonna.
Oh yeah. You should wait and see if someone else does it.
Yeah. No worries. Do it regardless. Yeah, if you guys, I've seen them live in concert in Vegas a few times. Steel Panther, and let me tell you, it is what I imagined going to a Guns N' Roses or like Poison concert would have been. There's like people drunk and just cheering and fucking chicks flashing the stage, and everyone gets all dressed up too, like an 80s or 80s 90s hair band, call it, because their music's good. They'll do covers of those old songs, but they have their own music that is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it would. I would want to go to like a show where it like the type of music is not popular in terms of like the era that you're living in, and because okay, so like I had a roommate and he went to see last decade when like hipster rock was really popular, but like it was very uncool to be into grunge and shit. So he went and saw. He went and saw in New York City. He saw Mudhoney. Do you guys know that band?
Mudhoney?
Yeah, they were kind of like grunge mixed with metal. They were actually really hard. They weren't even really a particularly great band, but they're the kind of things that if you were like into the grunge stuff in the 90s, like people they were very, very grungy. And so he went and saw them, and he said that it was a very small venue, and but they crammed it in, like probably about 200 people crammed into a venue that was probably only supposed to be intended for like 150 people. And he said it was one of the best shows of his life because it was like everybody knew the songs because they were a 90s band. And this was in probably 2004 or so, and the band was really stoked to just sell out a venue, and so they played really good, and everyone was like singing along, and it was like this like epic show. So
yeah, I like to see that's what I listened to a lot of the grunge or alternative, I guess you would have called it, when I was like in junior high. So yeah, I was like Smashing Pumpkins. What was it? REM when they were doing their shit. Fucking Garbage. Who else? Man, there was so many.
Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I loved all that stuff. Why can't I think of their name? Who's the one that they sang Self-Esteem and
Nirvana?
Oh, Offspring.
Offspring, sorry.
Yeah, the Offspring.
Oh man, so much Offspring.
Hell yeah. Them, and there was a lot of them. REM, I remember listening to a lot. I loved Smashing Pumpkins. Nirvana before he blew his brains out.
It's hard to listen to him afterwards.
Yeah. And I see all these fucking kids. They're like literally can't be over 15 years old sporting Nirvana shirts and shit like that. You don't even know. Like how do you wear something like that?
But welcome to like what our parents were saying when, because apparently I'm roughly the same age as you, when there were people wearing Black Sabbath T-shirts in, the mid '90s. Like, yeah, because you've been to a Black Sabbath concert. Shut up.
Yeah, no, exactly. But like he hasn't even. At least Black Sabbath is alive.
Well, the band is dead, but
Yeah.
yes, Ozzy's still running around.
But yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, sort of. Anyway.
I don't know how mentally there he is, but physically there is a person.
Yeah. Here, you guys want, just because I was going earlier and I like telling jokes, and especially the Mexican jokes. This is one that always gets a laugh. And I'm Mexican, so I can say it, and I don't have to hear it from people. Why do Mexicans make bad firefighters?
Why?
Because they can never tell the difference between Jose and Jose B.
God. That's actually pretty good. It also works with Puerto Ricans.
Yeah. They're all Hispanics, Mexicans.
This is my go-to joke of the moment is what's the best part of fucking a tranny?
What?
Reaching around and pretending you went all the way to the other side. It also works with gay guys.
I had to think about that one. That's pretty funny. Oh, okay. Huckleberry wants to talk to one. You guys know what a Mexican judo is? You ever heard of Mexican judo?
Nope.
No? It's, you don't know if I got a knife, and you don't know if I got a gun, so you don't mess with me.
Oh, I have heard that before.
Oh, that's funny.
I've heard something like that. Yeah, I think that somebody told me that he's like, well, I know Mexican judo. It means that, yeah, it's like, yeah,
I don't know if I got a gun.
Yeah, something like that.
You know what the Mexican American Express is?
What?
Oh, a knife. Never leave home without it. Yeah, I've got way worse ones, but I don't know if they're appropriate for this channel. But yeah, they're all I like the racist jokes, the raciest ones, the most sexist ones, just absolute funny. Because again, like I was saying earlier, the only reason I cannot hang around people, I cannot stand people who get offended over fucking words. Like when did fucking sticks and stones become irrelevant? When did that happen?
Yeah. Well, and there's such a difference between like something that is very obviously mean-spirited and something that is just like a joke, or something that's pointing something out that is kind of, like I used to bring up sometimes, and like, okay, this is a good. Oh, Jilly just gave me $5 more. Thank you very much, Jilly. So I guess we're going to be talking for a few more minutes. I don't know if the stopwatch was supposed to go down since the time. I'll go for another 15 minutes or so. So there was one of the things that, and this is just something that I know, and this is not even like a joke. It's not, all it is an observation, and it was a good way to tell whether or not if I would meet a new black person that would become my friend, I could tell if they had a sense of humor or not. And one of the things I would bring up would be like, have you noticed that black people always love yams for some reason? And like most black people I know who are cool would totally be like, yeah, why is that? Why do black people love yams? I don't, and it's not mean. It's like, it's just a thing.
Yeah, it's pretty much a Southern tradition. Like, it's like a Southern thing, it's like, yams,
like
collard greens,
Yeah, it's I guess they're like a soul food or something, but it's like, it's weird because it's like, I don't know. Like the other soul foods were always something that I would rarely ever hear about. But like my black friends would always be like, they would talk about how good yams were, and they'd be like, "What? All black people love yams." That's what, and they would tell me that, So
Wait a minute, Press. Have you ever tried a yam?
yeah, I've had them. They're all right.
Yeah, yams.
Don't say that. Whatever.
Yams and marshmallows.
They're like even sweeter sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
You know what all black people love? Beets.
I don't love beets.
No, it was a joke.
Oh.
Like beets. Never mind.
By Dre.
From Doug.
Yeah, like the bass. Never mind.
I thought you were
It's
talking about
420. Like music beats.
Yeah, I get it now. But I thought you were talking about the vegetable earlier. And it's like,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that was part of the joke.
Jilly, since Jilly paid $5, and she actually paid $2 before. Thank you very much, Jilly D. You're a great supporter. Is there any questions that you have? Because we will totally answer them.
Or racial jokes of any race. I'll say them. I don't give a. Nope. Answer.
Well, there's a little bit of a delay, so it'll take them a second. Let's see. They're talking about sweet potato fries are good. Yeah, they are good, actually. Sweet potato fries are really good.
Indeed.
Oh yeah, I tried them. They're really tasty.
Is it still there? Oh, you're in the other chat. Duh. I'm not even looking at that one. Oh shit.
Somebody says, Helen. Why is Helen
jokes?
Yeah, why is Helen Keller a bad driver?
Why?
Because she's a woman.
Nice.
Oh, man, clever. I mean, there are literally two other categories of her that would have probably been even just uncalled for or just as funny. But yeah, the woman joke, classic.
Hey, you know why Helen Keller? You know why Helen Keller masturbates with one hand?
Why?
Because she has to moan with the other.
Oh my god, that's really funny.
Damn.
Oh my god, I need to write that on Facebook so I don't forget it.
Good lord. Did she answer anything? Did she have a question?
I'm not sure. Let's see.
Oh. Last one? No, I guess not.
Let's.
Very nice, Jeremy. Him.
Yeah, I just read that.
I'll kill a burner ear. She answered the iron.
I don't know if this joke is old. Basically, I'm not really good at racial jokes. Yeah, I kind of suck at them because I always seem to miss the punchline. Mixed. I'm like, usually I would categorize as Hispanic, but I'm like, what? Half French, Spanish,
You're supposed to
German,
say,
but
what's it to you, Beaner?
Well played, sir.
Well played, man. That was awesome.
Go ahead with the joke.
Continue the joke.
Continue the joke. Yeah.
All right. Let's keep joking around.
Yeah, that's some Boondock Saints callback.
So, she says speakers. I think she's trying to answer the jokes. Okay, so I thought she was maybe asking a question, but I didn't understand the question. So, let's see.
Well, he had a joke, or he was going to attempt a joke.
Oh, sorry.
What did God say when he made the first black guy?
Oops.
Oops, I left it in the oven too long.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of old.
Yeah, it's old. My brother's is better at it though.
What? Well, I gotta go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I say I got the the most adorable Nazi joke you'll ever hear, or Hitler joke.
Oh, I love those ones.
How do German children tie their shoes?
How?
Little Nazis.
Oh, yeah. See, that's just a
Excellent.
pun. It's not even actually
Yeah.
offensive.
Yeah.
I
It's an
mean,
adorable
I
Nazi
guess
joke.
I doubt that Angela Merkel would be thrilled with it, but
Yes, and frankly, that would not be right.
I mean, PewDiePie took some pretty innocuous Nazi jokes, and PewDiePie still got a lot of hell. He got a lot of hell for it.
What?
we couldn't hear you very well, Ren.
When it comes to PewDiePie told some innocuous, Nazi jokes. He still got a shitload of trouble for it. Like Disney didn't want him anymore. Maker Studios didn't want him anymore. And it's like he couldn't be like scare PewDiePie 3, and a lot of people, lost their jobs over it. But really,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
you could tell it's like a
Yeah.
In fairness to what happened though, and like I definitely side with PewDiePie. I don't think it was justified what actually happened to him.
Yeah,
But at the same time, like he did sign up to work with big corporate media with like Disney, and he did fully dress up. I mean, it was a gag, but he did fully dress up in Nazi garb, like he had swastikas and looked like he was a part of, like the Third Reich. And like, it is understandable that people would at a corporate contract would not want that. Even though it was a gag, it was a joke, and it was very clear if you actually looked at what it was.
Oh, yeah.
It's still kind of like I can understand how they would have some weird corporate ruling where it's unacceptable, even though everybody knew it was a joke. It's not like they were tricked into thinking that. It's just something that it's a line that they're not willing to cross for some sort of complicated red tape corporate ruling, and I can sort of see how that would be.
I mean, besides, didn't Disney like made some like Nazi cartoons before in the early days?
Yeah.
They did, but the real part is PewDiePie's shows were so innocuous. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old listening to him because it's so clearly a joke and it's really tame.
Yeah.
I mean, there are really worse shows. In fact, my mother allowed me to listen to worse jokes than that when I was a child.
Yeah, I got one for Huckleberry here. Like this one down. You know how I know Adam and Eve weren't black?
How?
You ever tried taking a rib from a black guy?
Oh my god! Ever wonder why a Japanese guy always works so late? Because his childhood died when he entered high school.
Wah, wah. That's mean.
You know how I know Jesus wasn't Mexican?
How?
You go to Mexico and look for 3 wise men and a virgin. I don't appreciate you guys laughing at that. Fuck.
That's fucking good.
This is an old one. You guys have probably all heard it though, but it goes, you know why Mexico never appears in the Olympics?
Everybody who can
Why?
run, jump, or swim's already here.
Yeah, that's why. Because anyone who can run. Yeah. Still funny.
It is.
Or how many Mexicans does it take to screw in a light bulb?
How
One.
many are at Home Depot?
Just Juan. No one else got any?
This isn't okay. Why did the feminists cross the road?
Why?
Wow.
Right.
Lots to unpack here. First, don't you realize that the road is actually a social construct, and demanding that a woman be on one side of the road or another is an act of your patriarchal control over her. A true feminist can exist on both sides of the road at once.
Well, why did the what does it go? Why did the libertarian chicken cross the road?
Why?
None of your goddamn business. Am I being detained?
Oh, that was a good one. That's a good one. Oh, I got one. Why did a German stop his car?
He was in Poland.
No, because he had to get some gas.
Oh.
But don't.
Meh. That's why Hitler killed himself, you know. Because he got that gas bill. Let me tell you. Another went. No other? I'll keep going with them if you want.
Yeah.
Okay,
A few
all right.
more minutes to go.
I got one. Why is there? Okay. How to? Why is there a rush hour in Moscow?
Because they're all Russian?
Yeah.
Oh lordy. Okay, so this Jewish boy goes up to his dad and says, "Hey, Dad, can I borrow $50?" The dad says, $40? What do you need $30 for? Jesus, you think you're gonna get $10?
That's pretty funny. Okay, I have a sort of a long joke, but it's worth it. Okay, so this kid is half black and half Jewish. And he goes home and his mom is Jewish. And he talks to her and he's like, "Mom, am I more black or am I more Jewish?" And she's like, you're half and half." And he's like, "Well, yeah, but like, just a little bit more or a little bit." And she's like, No, I'm Jewish. Your father's black. You're perfectly mixed. That's how it works." And he's like, "Oh, okay." And so he goes and he finds his dad and he's like, "Dad, am I more black and I'm more Jewish?" And his dad's like, "That's not a question you can answer. Like, you're not." He's like, "Well, just like 51%, 49% or something." And he's like, "No, dude, that's not how it works. It's you're totally 50-50." And so finally, they go to dinner. They're eating dinner, and the mom says, Junior asked me the weirdest question today." And he's like, "Oh yeah, what did he ask you?" She's like, "Well, he asked if he's more black or if he's more Jewish." And the dad's like, "Oh yeah, he asked me that too. Junior, why do you want to know?" And he's like, "Well, the kid down the street selling his bike, and I wanted to know whether I should just Jew down the price or fucking steal it."
I like it. What
Fair
did
enough, Wordsworth.
What did the hippie say when I told him to get off my couch?
What?
Namaste.
Namaste.
No? All right. But
I don't get it.
That was like a halfway smart joke.
yeah, well, you gotta know what namaste. You have to have heard namaste first, I guess, and then kind of think of it through. Never mind. It's not funny if you gotta
Yeah.
explain them. Well, how many hippies does it take to screw in a light bulb?
All of
How
them.
much?
None.
Oh,
Hippie screw in tents and vans.
No.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
hey, you guys, I should be going because I need to eat dinner and I'm supposed to be on another stream at 6, so I gotta like do my stuff. But thanks for coming on, and thanks for everybody being in the chat for my yeah, no worries, man. And yeah, I will see you guys soon. I might stream later tonight, because why not? Okay.
Namaste, motherfuckers.
Namaste,
Bye.
motherfucker. I gotta go too. See ya.
Namaste.